What's up, early birds? Hey guys. Can you hear me okay out there in the internet land? Good to see you, good to see you. Dolly Hula Doll Reynolds Dolce. That's a long name. Aloha to ya. What's poppin'? What's poppin'? Emma, what's up? Welcome, welcome. I'm feeling these beats right now. From Chill Hop Music. Mr. Daksund. Hello, hello. Squad up, squad up. Everybody rolling in, yeah. Ashley, trying to update your resume. Give me some good advice, people. Tell them that you know how to use Windows 95 very efficiently, and that you're really good at scrolling through posts on Instagram. That's what I said on here, and I got hired by YouTube to be a YouTuber. Granted, the interview process was done with my cat, so I don't know, honestly, if they would have hired me or not. I just went for it. You're doing Japanese Duolingo. That sounds fun. So you'll be ready for all of your favoritist animes. Discord fam. Also, is the Discord... I wonder if it's open to people. Every time we post it, if it's a legit link, or if we're adding new people. I'm never really sure. Robin, hello, hello. Electroheart, hey. Oh, it's Buffy. Okay, yeah. Buffet. Oi, Buffet. Austin Reed, 17-minute poop. That's what I've been doing this whole time. I just rage quit with Austin and Overwatch and embarrassed myself. Austin, I don't think I'll ever play that game again. I hate it so much. And by that I mean I'll see you tomorrow. My cat can be your boss. He's very bossy. He's telling me what to do over in the corner right now as he curled up in a ball. Spooky, I can make a new link. Yeah, I never am certain if the one on the video is accessible, but I don't really know how many people are gunning to get in, but presumably it's people from the live stream anyways, so. Yeah, after the stream I'll be back. Talk about the hunt. Yeah, so me and Austin and some others have been playing Hunt Showdown. And if you're not familiar with it, basically it's turn of the century Western sort of atmosphere battle royale, but it's a very different take on a battle royale, where it's 1 to 2 to 3 players. Basically, you make hunters. You create your characters, these hunters, and you're going out in a zombie-plagued world. All sorts of crazy, interesting zombies in this sort of open world map that could take place at night or, dusk or daytime. And a lot of the land is very, I guess you could say, diverse in its sort of presentation, with swamps and open lands and fields. It definitely hits the atmosphere absolutely perfect. But basically, you're going out and you hold E to use your dark vision as as a bounty hunter looking for these demonic beings, these monsters that you have to banish, you have to kill and banish back into whatever hellscape they came from. So you use E, and you can use your like sort of shadow vision to see where your closest clues are, where you kind of close portals that give you clues to where everything is. And then after you get 3 of them, it shows you exactly where the monster that you're hunting, or the closest one, would be as it narrows down the map. Sometimes you can stumble across it randomly, but there's 3 different really big monsters you fight. One's like a spider, one's like a big meat cleaver dude who looks almost like Roadhog from Overwatch, and another one is sort of a creature that sort of manifests itself in the form of like bugs, and I forget what that one's called. But anyways, it's groups of 2 to 3, but you're not the only hunters out there. There's probably about 4 or 5 other groups of 2 to 3 that are also hunting these monsters, looking for clues and trying to survive in this like zombie apocalypse hellscape. And so you know, you're not only having to worry about like the PvE, player versus environment situation, you're also having to worry about going against other players. And the fact that there's multiple teams, I feel like, makes that really unique in the whole battle royale scenario. So anyways, once you get to one of these like bosses, you could say you killed it, it's very hard to kill, but you kill it, and then you begin the banishing process, and that tells everyone in the map where the banishing is occurring, and that sort of brings people to it, in which you kind of have to like set up traps and prepare yourself for other players who could come and try to steal stuff from you, or steal your bounty essentially. And then once it's banished, you got to run to the extraction points to get out of there. But you then have to worry about fighting against other players who are still coming after you and that kind of thing. So it's really interesting because every time you come out of a match, you get experience, but you also get money, which then goes towards you like upgrading, things that your hunter has that they randomly generate, these hunters, and they have some pretty funny names sometimes, but. And if you die in a match, you lose that hunter, which kind of sucks because it's sort of like a permadeath type scenario. And I think what I like the most about that game is just the atmosphere. Like the sound design is so absolutely immersive because everywhere you walk, you're doing something that's sort of interacting with the environment, whether it's stepping on sticks that alert and make a noise, or passing by crows that fly off, or stepping on glass, or disturbing a bunch of dogs that are in some sort of pen somewhere, or even there's a dead horse laying on the ground. It like lifts its head up and starts rearing it. Like there's a lot of things to give away your position, which then alerts various zombies to you. And the level of detail in the zombies and just the sort of gruesomeness of the entire story, it's like they really don't hold back on anything, and then just the sound design overall just really pulls you in, and the story itself is really, really cool. It has that Red Dead vibe to it back when they did zombies, but I would say even more immersive. Missed a donation here from Warren with the 2, says my cat almost suffocated me this morning. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm fortunate that my cat doesn't sit on my face or anything like that. But the Let's Read Nation is here. Another 10 minutes. We're actually reading some pet stories tonight. So I think that's kind of an interesting topic. Tiny Green Turtle's got her socks are buttered and ready to rock. Yeah, I was talking about the game Hunt Showdown. It's not a super popular game right now. I mean, I think a few streamers have played it, but it's really cool. It's a really, really cool game. It definitely rewards those who put a lot of time into it with unlocking different weapons that give you a certain strategic advantage. But at the same time, one shot can essentially make the difference between, you dying or not. The only tough part is that matches don't necessarily go fast or anything like that, but you kind of have to be quick getting to each clue so you can have a strategic advantage over other hunters. that sometimes you don't really get to take enough time to immerse yourself in the environment, because there is a lot of attention to detail in that game, which I really admire. And the character design and the sound design and the environments and everything, it's just really, really cool. Buffet, Electra Heart with the 5 says, I had yet another paranormal unexplained thing happen to me. Am I part of the cool kids club now? P.S. You smell. Oh my god. Turn around. She's right down here by my bum. I thought I smelled you. JK. What paranormal experience did you have? You'll have to type that ish up. Electra. She's gonna bully me, cyberbully me into submission. Clary, we're just chilling, talking about video games and the like. And Buffet had a paranormal experience. She's gonna fill us in here, unless she wants to put it on the subreddit. Which, yeah, guys, submit stories to the subreddit. I need them. Surrender my butter socks. You guys are gonna have to get your own, please. I need these for optimal butteration. You're listening now, Lexington, Kentucky in the house. All right. Welcome. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Hope you guys were safe if you did anything for the holidays. We got a few costumes posted over on the Discord, which was pretty cool to see everyone's ideas and stuff. It was funny. Questioning the question mark says you can't get into the Discord anymore. Yeah, maybe one of the mods can link you here and you can get in. I don't really, maybe I need to update probably the Discord link on the actual video. Bonnie, you're in Fall River, Massachusetts. It is cool to see everybody from different parts of the God's green earth. Caitlin, you're a broke person. That's okay. It's good to be. Oh, you can't buy any butter socks, so you need mine. I suppose I can share. It'd be funny if like 2 people squeezed into one sock. Scoot over. There you go. Robin linked the Discord there for you. Austin, you banned me from my own Discord. Thank you. Claire Smith, how do you submit a story? So if you go to, I'm sure one of the mods will link it as well, reddit.com/r/letsreadofficial. And you can submit stories there. Well, you're going to listen while playing Fable 2. Nice. Yeah, I remember I really liked... I don't want to spoil Fable for you, but I really, really put a lot of time into Fable 2 when it was out. It's just one of those games where you could just desire to get immersed in it. And I haven't had a game like that in a long time. Like Skyrim was the last time where I would just play it, and you knew doing one mission or whatever one quest would essentially probably end up taking you down so many rabbit holes it would be 3 hours later before you were done with it. But I do kind of miss the days of just jumping on Skyrim when I would get back from working at a bar late at night and just getting lost in it till the sun started coming up and thinking like, well, it's probably should fall asleep. But I don't know if anybody has any games that they would suggest that are similar to that, where you just kind of get pulled into the mechanics, not necessarily mechanics, but just the world of it. Yeah, Dark Souls, no thank you. I've given it a shot. It's too I'm not a gamer enough to beat it or even do remotely well on it. And like, I appreciate that some games are, they challenge you and that kind of thing, but to me it's like, even when you're doing well in Dark Souls, like, I don't really feel stoked about it. I'm just like, ugh, that was a chore. Like, I don't really find the gameplay to be too exciting. You just like do your iframe rolls to get out of the way, then you strike. And when it first came out, there was Demon Souls, and I honestly thought it was like they were going backwards. Like, I thought gameplay-wise we're going like backwards, which maybe there's a certain sense of nostalgia that pulls people into that style. But I mean, I really like the the sort of world building that is present in that game. The level design is really vertical, which is cool. It's like definitely a visual, very aesthetically pleasing in a lot of ways. But I think I would rather kind of absorb it by watching somebody else play, because it's just, I'm just trash. I suck at it, and it's infuriating and dumb. Have I tried the new game Overwatch? Yeah. To the point of madness, honestly. Dragon Age. Hey, Nuna, what's up? Dragon Age does seem really cool. I've heard good things about the lore in that. Cassandra, good. Homework is for fools. C Spears, am I reading stories or am I just chatting? So, got about 3 minutes till we kick off reading stories. Got that on screen there. Just like to chit chat while we let everyone roll in. Joel getting mad at Overwatch is the best thing ever. I honestly don't think it is. I feel embarrassed by my like gamer rage, because it's just like I feel as if though it's sort of infectious. When I get mad, I feel like I bring everyone else's like mood down, and I hate that, because I'm just like, God, I would much rather like be making jokes and laughing about stupid shit than caring so much about a video game. But I tried to download Call of Duty, the new one, Modern Warfare, and I was actually excited because I haven't played Call of Duty in forever. So I was excited to kind of get back into it, because I know they've made some pretty big changes. And yeah, so I was excited to give it a try, but then I downloaded it. When I launched it on the Battle.net launcher, it just went to a black screen, and I, scanned the game, tried to fix the files, whatever it was you could really had available. I tried to run it in different resolutions, all this random shit. Even though that was difficult. I don't think I tried like literally everything, but yeah, so I never actually got to try it, so I just like got a refund for it. Guardian, did I look up We've Read the Documents? No, I don't know what that is. Can we get some 2-hour plus videos? Maybe you can combine videos. You can put it on a playlist and just let it run. I don't know. I mean, this video probably would be close to an hour, so I can meet you halfway. Yo, Mason, yeah, congrats on the baby. I'm excited for you. Hope everything is going well with your hospital stay and labor and all that kind of stuff. That's wild. But yeah, so I was kind of excited to play Call of Duty, the new one, just so you could just literally, because we always joke about like people playing Call of Duty and Overwatch where you just run around trying to get kills, and it's really not helpful to the team, because if it's kind of like once one part of the pillar of the team falls, like you all fall, because everyone plays an important role in the team gameplay aspect. But in Call of Duty, you quite literally can just go running around getting murdered and reset. And I think that's why I like Call of Duty type games a lot more than the Battle Royales, because say you're trying to get used to a game's mechanics and all you have is like one life, like the amount of opportunities you're going to have to get used to those mechanics and the gun ballistics and all that kind of stuff and your aim and yada yada. There's going to be a lot more based on how many repetitions you get your reps in on your respawn and all that. So that's why I think battle royales are kind of annoying, because it's like I just never understood, like when I play PUBG, like it's so infuriating to get like you've been looting, it's like a loot simulator, you get killed and then you're back to the menu, and it's literally like a 5+ minute process to like have an opportunity to get back into a game, to then go loot for another 10 to 15 minutes just to potentially be murdered again. And I'm just like, man, I'm never gonna get good if I just like. So I guess it makes sense, because everybody drops pachinki and like tries to just F shit up. But even in that scenario, it's like I need more opportunities. But the custom games in that game are not very reliable, and I honestly, even with like a good computer, I can't get very good frames and anything. It's just like a poorly optimized piece of crap. It is time, my friends. We are going to switch over to some reads and put on our good friend, Iron Cthulhu Apocalypse. You have to let me know if this is too loud for you. It might be a little loud. Just a smidge. Just a smooge loud. Hey, Wolfsan, welcome. Okay. Mission start. So we got 7 stories here for you tonight about pets. This first one seemed to do well in the subreddit. It's called Tried to Make My Dog Vegan. Hi, newsflash, dogs are not vegans. They are evolutionary designed to tear apart proteins and meats, things of that nature. Dog food. But, yes. Smidge it up? You want me to smidge that up? I can smidge it. Just a smooge. You love the pumpkin carving. Yeah, I guess spooky month is over, so I might have to, but I guess we're transitioning out. We don't want to, like, when you get 30 days, 31 plus days of spooky month, and then suddenly the rug is ripped out from beneath you, and now it's Christmas month. Christmas, rest of Christmas year. It's kind of annoying. Make sure to feed Pradeep. I did. We got his cat food in. I get it from, what the hell's it called? Yummy? Not Yummy. Chewy. Get it from Chewy. I get this cat food called Origin. And boy, does that make his coat awfully soft. You stick your finger in my mouth every time I yawn. I'm gonna bite it off. Okay. Let's just kick it off, guys. Take a sipsies of Wawa. Whoever invented water, thanks for that. How do I eat pizza through a helmet? Oh man, I'll have to figure that out. I don't remember. Might have to compromise my suit. Unless it just like goes up my butt or something. Yummy, I get my treats. Alright, guys. So this whole thing starts when I moved in with my ex-girlfriend. Obviously, she was my girlfriend at the end, and we were very much in love. It was one of those whirlwind romance type things, so after just 6 months of being together, and after countless hints from her that the big loft apartment she called home was far too big for one person, I finally moved in. We were very different people, different personalities, different lifestyles, but you know what they say, opposites attract, right? One thing we definitely had in common was our love for animals. She kept a small pet. She kept a small pet. She kept a few small pets, a corn snake, a cockatiel, stuff like that. Only she took her love of the natural world a little bit further than I did. She was a vegetarian for the first few months of our relationship, but not long after she moved on to being entirely vegan. Now, this didn't bother me at all, since she didn't mind me eating meat. It was her personal choice not to. She even cooked me food with meat in it every so often, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't super appreciate that. But after a while, we talked about getting a larger pet, a dog, or maybe a cat. And here's the thing about that. A couple getting a pet is basically training for a baby. If you can manage the pet's care and look after the thing as a team, there's a good chance you're compatible to start a family. So, one day, we made our way to a local animal rescue center to take a look at the dogs on offer. She might have been a little undecided on which one to bring home. She loved them all, apparently. But as soon as I laid eyes on this big, cuddly-looking German Shepherd, I knew which one I wanted to give a home to. It took some convincing, as she was torn between my choice and some of the smaller, cuter dogs that were available. But eventually I talked her around, and we ended up leaving with the female German Shepherd, who was named Jazz. So as I mentioned, my ex was heavily into the whole vegan thing, but she was into the organic food movement too. I was down with that too, don't get me wrong. The organic food shop she used to buy my chicken and pork from did absolutely amazing quality meat. So when my ex mentioned that she would source some natural, healthy dog food for Jazz, I was obviously approving. But the first time she brings a bag of it home... Wait, what? But the first time she brings a bag of it home... Oh, a bag of it. Okay, my bad. My bad. Boysness, welcome back. But the first time she brings a bag of it home, Jazz won't touch it. At first, I'm pretty confident it's because I've been spoiling her. Part of her dog training had involved me picking up a pack of cooked chicken from a local supermarket, then walking her into a nearby park for training. Whenever she was a good girl, she'd get a piece of chicken. So if you spend all day eating fresh chicken breasts, I can get why you'd be adverse to actual dog food. The treats had to stop. It sucked, but whatever it took to acclimatize. Acclimatize. I know that that's a word, but I don't know if it's actually a word.
Acclimatize.
Acclimatize. Okay. Acclimate. Acclimatize. I don't know why it sounds so weird. Caitlin, your ice cream is delicious. Which kind do you have? My Instagram. Oh, it's letsread.official. Everything anybody could possibly want to know about me is located very, very deep within the recesses of the description box below. It sucked, but whatever it took to acclimatize Jazz to her new home. But as the days went by, Jazz still refused to eat her dog food. She'd walk up to the bowl, sniff at it, then just wander away looking disappointed with the offering. It was only when she got really, really hungry did she actually try eating the stuff. We were overjoyed. My ex seemed particularly happy that Jazz was finally beginning to feel at home. But not long after she'd finished the bowl, Jazz vomited up all of the organic dog food all over the kitchen floor. We were beginning to get extremely worried at this point. For me personally, it came down to the idea that we may have inadvertently purchased a sick or dying dog. That would be nightmarish, getting attached to the poor thing only to have it die not long after. I wasn't ready for that at all. So the search began to try to find out what was wrong with her. I took Jazz straight to the vet the next day, hoping a checkup would shed light on the issue. It did, and I never ever expected to hear just what they told me. "This dog is extremely malnourished," the vet said. That didn't exactly come as a surprise, but the reason behind it shocked me to the core. "What exactly are you feeding her?" the vet asked. I explained that my girlfriend at the time was feeding her this organic stuff. The vet seemed immediately skeptical. She politely asked me to go home, then call her with the name of the dog food so she could check it out herself. I don't want to give you the exact brand name or anything. I don't want to get sued for defamation. I honestly couldn't afford it right now, even if I might win. But I did as the vet asked and called her back with information she'd asked for. But then I told her the name of the food. She sighed, like she'd heard it all before. That food doesn't meet the nutritional requirements of a dog, she explained. There's very little protein in it, and what protein is present comes entirely from plant matter. Essentially, my girlfriend was trying to feed our pet vegan dog food. I confronted her about it the moment she got home from work. I expected her to be sorry, to have made some kind of mistake, but instead of being apologetic, she got all self-righteous. It was honestly dumbfounding. She said something along the lines of how it was monstrous to force an animal to eat other animals. Yep, you read that right. She thought it was cruel to feed a dog, who needs animal protein to survive, food that contained meat or animal tallow. Wait, is tallow? Is that a word? Dude, I'm learning so many words. Sweet.
Tallow.
Jeez. A hard fatty substance made from rendered animal fat, using it making candles and soap. Whoa, we're feeding our dogs candles and soap? Are we crazy? Don't dogs just eat leaves? My dog eats grass. Maybe just feed him grass. My old dog, rather. She thought it was cruel to feed a dog, who needs animal protein to survive, food that contained meat or animal tallow. What's more, she told me she'd been working really hard trying to train Jazz to like the dog food, and that I'd messed up all of her efforts. Like it was me who was the bad guy, and not her for literally nearly murdering our dog with freaking vegan dog food. Apparently it was a case of go along with what she wanted or move out. So here's the thing. When we got her, all of the paperwork was filled out in my name. Every official document listed me as Jazz's owner, not my ex. I had a plan laid out before the sun went down. I moved out a few days later, back into my parents' house with Jazz in tow. At first, my mom was a little apprehensive about having such a big dog in her nice, neat little home, but she came around to the idea as soon as I told her the whole story. How my ex had almost killed her because some stupid ideal meant more than her. Shit, sorry. AZ Arison with the 4 Canadian maple syrup dogs said, "You are the bomb." Thank you, AZ. Is that your name? Is that your name? It's beautiful. Your dog won't stop eating grass. That's what I'm saying. Maybe dogs are just trying to tell us something. Dogs are scared of their own farts. What do they know, right? Oh, dude, you own 2 German Shepherds. That's pretty sweet. My aunt growing up always had 2 German Shepherds, but they would smoke in the house, so like all of the smoke fumes would cling to the dog's like fur, making it really, really greasy, and just every time you pet them, like I love the dogs. I love petting dogs and stuff like that, but it would just make your hands smell like this disgusting grease stink. I feel like cigarettes just like ruin every house or every place they go. How my ex had almost killed her because some stupid ideal meant more to her than actually looking after an animal. It just strikes me as seriously ironic that the same people who claim to love animals more than anything else are the same people who have no problem inflicting unimaginable cruelty on the same things they claim to love so much. Jeez, that was definitely a different story. I guess these are going to be some different stories, not your conventional horror. Best dog is a blue heeler. Yeah, I remember my cousin had a blue heeler, I think. Would take it hunting, I believe, but they kept it outside and it was quite aggressive because it wasn't very well socialized. Wait, what? You have 5 dogs, over 20 cats. Kiss my fat boot. My God. That's a lot of them. Do the British voice again. Your ice cream fell in your shirt. Uh-oh, you're screwed, dude. Mom's gonna be pissed. Your dog has ADHD. Probably need to send it to concentration school. He caught the disease. Honestly, dogs are naturally really good at just chilling and doing math problems. Swamp Dweller says, rumor has it that Let's Read is super buff. That's something that only Swamp Dweller will find out in person. And then he can report back if those rumors are correct. Super buff. Buffy the Vampire. Buffy the Vampire Muscle. Buffy the Vampire Steroid? I don't know. Your dog's pregnant and the baby is mine? Well, looks like I'm on the run, boys. Hee-hoo, try and catch me. I ain't paying that shit. I think the happiest day of my life was the day my family moved into our first proper home together. My wife and I had finally pulled together enough of our savings to buy a house in the suburbs. This big old 3-story thing that looked like something out of a storybook. To go along with the picture-perfect scene of domestic bliss, we bought a dog. Our 6-year-old daughter had been asking for one ever since she learned to talk. Her first words were actually doggy and then good doggy. She'd point to them in parks, smile, and giggle when she saw them in her early learning books. They became something of an early obsession to her. So the day after the happiest day of my life was the second happiest. The day I got to see the look in my daughter's eyes when we brought home the dog of her dreams, a labradoodle named Elsa. After a few months of us living in such a quiet, nice neighborhood, something happened that made us all extremely nervous. The first missing pet poster didn't cause too much alarm. I mean, it sucked for the family whose dog went missing. Their kids were devastated. But at the risk of sounding heartless, these things happen, especially since the area we lived in was very visited. Swamped, I gotta shave my nose hairs. Hope everyone's having a great night. Yeah, careful, don't shave them too close, you get ingrown nose hairs. Valerie Hernandez with the 2 says, hi, how did you do in the last open workout? You know, this was probably my best. I could see something like, oh, Jesus Christ, Let's Read's going to talk about CrossFit for the next 20 minutes. And I promise not to. I'll be very quick. That's what she said. All right, so basically, the workout was 30 step-ups on the 24-inch box. Now, you could do box jumps, but you risk the potential of breaking your Achilles tendon if you do too many of those too often. Potential injuries are not good. So basically I just did step-ups, which was just as fast, I feel like, for the most part. And then it was, you started at 95 pounds, did 15 clean and jerks, and then you do 30 step-ups, and then you go to 135 pounds and do 15 clean and jerks, and then you do 30 step-ups, and then you do 185, 10 clean and jerks, which there it starts to get heavy, for me at least. But I was able to do them relatively efficiently. And then the one thing I suck at, but I wore lifters for like range of motion as far as like dropping down into your single leg squats, what they call pistols or single leg squats, and just trying to maintain my balance on those as I went back and forth. You got to do 30 single leg squats alternating back and forth, 30 total. And that was hard. But then I was able to get through those, but it took up a lot of time. You had 20 minutes to do the workout then it goes up to 225, and then after that it's 275, and then 315. Now my 1 rep max or something for just clean in general, like squat clean, was like 295. So, and definitely wouldn't be able to like jerk that. So I got to 225, and I was really gassed and did about 7 reps total of 225 clean and jerk. So that was about where I got to for that. So I was happy because I felt like the strength aspect really helped me. It didn't really rely a whole lot on your cardio efficiency, but so that was pretty sweet. Probably my best workout, like in comparison to other people in the gym. And Caitlin Frederic with the 2 says, "Hey yo, what's your favorite animal pet memory?" Man, yeah. I remember one time I was wrestling with my husky that was my brother's. He brought over or something. It eventually became ours because he couldn't take care of it. And I just remember, like, it wasn't funny at the time, but looking back, it was funny. Like, we were wrestling, and then all of a sudden the dog just out of nowhere just starts like humping me from behind, and it gave my family a pretty good laugh. And I don't know. I had a Doberman that I felt that I got at the beginning of college, and unfortunately it passed away pretty much by the end of college because I had like seizure issues. But man, I love that Doberman. He was such a good dog, and he was so nice. And I remember he started having his seizures, really wasn't eating, and then I got like Chipotle and didn't quite finish all of it. It was like a bowl, and I gave him the bowl, and then actually like he started eating from that point and started getting better. But yeah, seizures, wasn't really sure where it all began, even though some speculated that maybe it was because he drank from a gross bird bath, because he would do that pretty frequently. And I don't know if that gave him some sort of like issue, but Dobermans and those kind of purebred type dogs definitely have a lot of like health issues in the long term, especially if they're bigger dogs. Dude, seriously, with the 2 says, just because of dogs, German Shepherds. Yeah, I know. I would like to get a German Shepherd maybe at some point. Instead of CrossFit, you do cross dress. Now that would be worth it. Yeah, the vegan food is probably what did him in. I just fed him avocados and grass. But at the risk of sounding heartless, these things happen, especially since the area we lived in was often visited by coyotes in search of leftover garbage food. One of the first things I did was make sure the garden fence in our backyard... Wait, what? One of the first things I did was make sure the garden fence in our backyard was okay. I need to like gargle, dude. My throat is like making me... It's like, I feel like I have a frog in my throat, and every time I start reading, my voice kind of cracks. Don't feed your dogs Joel juice. Yeah, that would be ill-advised. One of the first things I did was make sure the garden... Fuck, dude. I need like some tea, but I don't have any fucking tea. And then I try to do this deep voice boy, but it's not working. One of the first things I did was make sure the garden fence in our backyard was tall and secure. But when the second missing pet poster went up, the neighborhood started to get a little more concerned. A homeowners association meeting had people bringing up the possibilities of mountain lions, hawks, or even bears being responsible for our missing pets. A consensus was reached to keep an eye out for whatever was responsible. So one evening, a couple of weeks after the HOA meeting, I'm home alone, making myself a quick snack in the kitchen. My wife is out with our daughter, and our dog Elsa was out in the backyard. She'd always been quite a vocal dog, barking at there's a lot of just like random errors here that I like are throwing me off. She's always been quite a vocal dog, barking or whining at anything and everything, so the occasional round of barking wasn't anything I was too concerned about. Besides, if that was her protecting the neighborhood from coyotes, then all the power to her. I didn't care if it was slightly irritating. So I'm done making my sandwich, and I'm sitting in the living room watching some baseball highlights. The Red Sox are losing, as usual, and Elsa is barking up a storm in the backyard. Nothing particularly out of the ordinary, you see, so I'm sort of laughing to myself, thinking she's just annoyed at yet another terrible sock season as I am. But then, out of nowhere, her barking begins to get more intense. Way more intense. Like it's not just barks anymore, it's a mix of barking, whining, and yelping. Like there's something close and she's scared of it. Like, it's not just barks anymore. Okay. Like there's something close and she's scared of it or something. So I go out back into the yard, reassure her a little with some petting before poking my head over the fence to make sure it's all clear. I half expected to see a little pack of coyotes or, God forbid, a black bear. But there was nothing. Nothing at all in the woods behind the house. Maybe she'd caught scent of a squirrel or something. Something small enough to be prey and get her excited enough to bark like that. I went back inside to enjoy the game, or not enjoy it, whatever, because like half an hour later the same terrified barking starts up again. I immediately get up to head outside, intent on bringing Elsa inside so we don't cop a noise complaint from a neighbor or something. But as soon as I do, I see something that almost makes my heart stop. Elsa is barking all right, barking at the shapes of a man trying to climb over our fence. She's also barking at a guy who's actually inside our backyard, dressed in black, face mask on. He had a leash in his hand. A leash he's trying to get on Elsa's collar. I just rushed into action, bursting out of my bursting out of my back door to get me dog. 420 people, dude, blazer. 360 blazing. Hit that like button, guys. Does this guy not sound somewhat like the English dub voice of Alucard in Hellsing Ultimate? That's funny, I've heard other people say that. You're gonna make me go try and do anime or something. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Do you want me to advance my career? Are you insane? I just rushed into action, bursting out of my back door and into the garden, screaming for them to get... I can't say the word hell, because hell's a naughty, naughty word. Alright. I just rushed into action, bursting out of my back door and into the garden, screaming for them to get out. That's when I see the gun on the guy's hip. I panic, realizing I'm lacking a weapon. Shit, sorry guys. That's when I see the gun on the guy's hip. I panic, realizing I'm lacking a weapon myself, and tear back inside to grab a knife. But when I turn, the guy's already got the pistol drawn. I run further into the house after locking the door, grabbing a cell phone before hammering 911 into the touchscreen. Those are some of the longest moments of my entire life. Hanging on the line with that dispatcher, not knowing whether the gunman would break in and shoot me, or whether I'd hear a single shot from the backyard as the guy cut his losses and executed Elsa. The dispatcher Sorry. Hey, Mr. Blackpusses, what is the good news? The dispatcher discouraged me from doing so, but I couldn't help but sneak downstairs to get a view of the backyard. I had no idea what sight would greet me, but I was overcome with relief when I saw... What the fuck? I had no idea what sight would greet me, but I was overcome with relief when I saw... Oh, okay, I see. I had no idea what sight would greet me, but I was overcome with relief when I saw There was Elsa, wagging her tail at the back door. No sign of any intruders in the backyard. When the cops showed up, I gave them a description and all that jazz, but I really didn't think it'd do any good. Those guys looked like professionals. They were prepped, armed, and masked up. That's when the cops told me that they already had a lead. A gang that was stealing thoroughbreds and popular dog breeds to be sold out of state. Professional dog nappers. Can you believe that? The cops had done all they could, so they were just about to leave when I gave Elsa a little stroke around her chin. When I drew my hand back, there was blood on it. My jaw dropped. I looked at the cops. They looked back at me. It appeared that they weren't entirely out of luck after all. Long story short, a forensics team was set up at the back of our house searching for blood trails. They found something all right. The whole dog napping thing isn't a huge crime, but given that they were armed, it qualified as a violent home invasion, which warranted a much heavier police presence. But they didn't even need the DNA. The cops picked up a guy for stealing medical supplies from a pharmacy. When they looked him over at the county jail, he had a dog bite on his left forearm. They got a warrant for the guy's apartment and found 3 missing dogs locked up in tiny cages, horrific conditions for an animal to be kept in. They charged the guy with home invasion as opposed to dog napping, since it carries a much heavier sentence. We attended his pretrial hearing at the county courthouse. Turns out the guy was an absolute scumbag with a rap sheet longer than a Stephen King book. But what else would you expect from a guy who tried to straight up steal a family dog from their own backyard? Lesson being, keep an eye out on your pets, people. You never know who's watching. Your B-Day is in Jan. Thank God Mrs. B is 30 in February. Ah! You guys always joke when I do the gargle that I'm ripping the brong. Ripping the brong. Smoking ranch. But if that was the case, I probably wouldn't be able to keep my feet at my standing desk. That'd be funny. It's all Ram Ranch. You don't got a gag from... Oh, jeez. Wolves fan, I do not, my friend, I do not. Mr. Black Pasta, you want the 20s back? Hey, never too late, honestly, I think the good thing about the 30s and onward that people kind of harp on the 20s is that I feel like you're more inspired. I mean, I'm not 30 yet, but I'm 29. I'm going to be 30, and I feel like whatever it is that you kind of missed in your 20s, now you have more of almost, hopefully, some financial security there to a certain degree, at least more leniency to essentially be confident enough to go accomplish the things that you otherwise had not prior, whether those are, traveling goals or fitness goals or just stuff that back when you were maybe more naive, you didn't think to place a priority on. Am I drinking or did I mic my stomach? No, I'm just taking a gargle. Just taking a gargle. Oh, you thought you meant the 1920s. Yeah, I wish we could bring the 1920s back. It'd be sweet to have the Great Depression again. That'd be great. A little bit of World War I action. I'm gonna be a boomer soon. I'm already kind of a boomer. When I went out to VidCon, I remember, I'm 29, and a lot of those guys that I was hanging out with were like 21, and I swear that there was, I was doing something like trying to navigate my iPhone or show them something, and I like got lost trying to do something. And they're like, "Oh, having a bit of a boomer moment there, huh?" What's my favorite dark ambient artist? Well, I don't really know that many, but I really do enjoy the good Iron Cthulhu Apocalypse here, because He's just so prolific with his music, and he does put out quite a bit. Shit hurts in your 30s that you didn't know you had. Deafs being less naive helps. Yeah, I mean, 30s is, I feel like, whenever you start to realize that an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure, you know, because essentially you really got to be wary of things you got to get on top of. Gothic Rose with the 2 Canadian maple syrup dogs says, taking a break while recording. Much love to all. Thank you, Gothic. Hope recording's going well for you. What you recording? War and age. A perfect combination. You heard every 666 years there's a Friday the 13th in October. That would be interesting. Is that true? Can we confirm? Jamie, bring that up. When 2020's arrived, you'll start calling everyone old sport. How are you, old sport? What do I want for Christmas? Maybe like a real live Pokemon. One that will fight for me. And like shoot fireballs at stuff. A real live Growlithe. Dude Sears says, I had a house fire when I was 38, but I'm still going forward. Next year is my year. No, absolutely, yeah. Anything you can change to better yourself going forward, I think is always a great goal. I mean, there's things, your health that you have great effect on. You know, your consumption of nicotine, cigarettes, alcohol, cutting back on those or completely eliminating from your life will have massive effects on probably how you feel and your well-being. Obviously, you're changing up your diet, exercise, all the base things that everyone hates, you know what I mean? But to be honest, once you get into that rhythm of those things, they become things that you love, and that if you don't have, you actually feel worse without it. So, and, you know, just making moves. Gotta make moves. Do I swallow the water after gargling, or do I spit? Are you asking me if I spit or swallow, my friend? Because I swallow all day. You don't need a Pokemon to fight for you. You're a cult leader. You have an army. That's true. Honestly, is in Pokemon universe, is there like any cults there? I guess like Team Rocket and all those are kind of like cults. They're like crime gangs. Gangs are kind of like a cult a little bit. I could totally see. I mean, yeah, like, I feel like joining up with the cartel or joining up with the Bloods or Crips is kind of like joining a cult a little. I don't know if they have things that they worship. I mean, obviously the group is worshipped unless there's like someone who's dead that is being worshipped. Or alive, maybe too. You don't spit or swallow, you shart. It's good to know. Please do an English accent. I do it so well. There's so many different English accents. Emma's got a great accent. It's very relaxing. She tells us spoopy stories. Mornides, you're playing D&D. That's dope. What kind of campaign are you doing? Yummy Bells is here. Hello, Yummy. You're a V late. No, just kidding. We've done 2 stories out of 7 that we're about to start. Story number 3. You're a cult leader of evil, being Lilith herself. What do I eat? Honestly, one thing that I do every day that's probably not the greatest is I'll literally go through the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru. I'll get a large hot macchiato with almond milk, and the girl at the Dunkin' Donuts will literally say, "Oh, would you like a power breakfast sandwich with that?" You know, because she knows my voice. And no, and like every time I go there, I get the power breakfast sandwich, which is just like, it might as well be like a mini Big Mac kind of thing. But I'd like to say it's more healthy for you, but I cannot deny nor confirm any of that. But it's V good. Joel eats the other narrators. I devour their souls. And it's funny because I get the macchiato, but like all macchiatos you get anywhere else, like conventionally, are going to be like this little dumb shithead cup that you get, and it's got like a little bit of froth in it or some shit. But like with the nice thing about Dunkin' Donuts is they just fill up a whole large cup and then with mixed almond milk and espresso and shit like that. They're like, here you go, here's a giant thing of it. And it tastes so good, especially with the almond milk. It's so sweet and delectable. Oh my lord. What's in the sandwich? It's like a turkey patty with cheese, and like there's just like a multi-grain bread, and they kind of like steam it like a panini a little bit. Or not steam it, but throw it in their like super high energy bake oven. Dude, those industrial bake ovens, I mean, I'd like one of those for home. That would be sweet. It's freaky how I changed my voice from normal voice to my reading voice. What time is it? It's 8:30. We're actually starting way early here today, so I can chit-chat. And when I'm done, I'll be able to maybe get editing in early, so people who are on Patreon might get this audio way earlier than 4 a.m. So this next story is called Daisy. Pretty farts for dessert, yeah. He doesn't fart very often, but there are times when he's in his litter box and he gets out and it stinks up the whole freaking house. It's disgusting. Sarcophagus says, I really appreciate your work. I'm from the EU, so it's really late, but I'm glad I'm able to catch the stream, and I just wanted to say that your work has helped me a lot in the past 2 years. Thank you. Yeah, it honestly feels so good when people message me and say how much, my narrations have helped them either with sleep or relaxing or get through their day, cleaning, just stuff like that. Like, you don't realize how the things that you kind of get used to doing all the time can really make a big difference for people. So, yeah, I'm on the East Coast. Yeah, if you guys honestly have like any inclination towards creating something that maybe you could translate to podcast or YouTube or whatever, or just creating in general, because you could put it up on Instagram, maybe you do woodworking, anything that you could possibly create in this world, I highly suggest that you do it. Writing, things like that. There's so many forms that can have a really positive effect on other people in the world, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Evil Adam with the 294 says, here is some pennies for the coffers. Thank you. Honestly, it helps, yeah. It's so weird because like me going out and getting like Dunkin' Donuts coffee from the drive-thru is like one of my favorite parts of the day, as sad as that sounds, just because I usually get it, and on my way there I'm like listening to a podcast of sorts, and then when I get back I am eating my sandwiches while watching streamers and listening to more podcasts, and it just feels very relaxing. And it's sad when it's over, because then I'm like, fuck, now I gotta go actually do shit. I've struggled with depression since my early teens. It's been something that's caused serious interpersonal problems with friends, family, and employers. But I've worked steadily using therapy and medications to keep a lid on it, and by my mid-20s, I thought I had it under control. That was until I went through a really bad breakup, the kind that splits a whole circle of friends in two. Long story short, she cheated, told lies, minds were made up and sides were taken. It was truly awful, and it had my depression coming back with a vengeance. By the time it came to me about ending my own life, I knew I'd hit and rock bottom. Jeff Curry with the 1. Thank you, Jeff. Or G-off. I sound like that one guy from W. Cuck. What's cuck? I never heard of that. You calling me a cuck? My voice is like Ron Swanson's. It's sedative. Ron Swanson. I like my steak the way I like my government. Medium rare. Or rare. Maybe just completely rare. Bonnie Joy, please. Welcome.
Full-grown pizza.
You are now a full-grown pizza and a member of the Buttersock cult. Welcome, welcome. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's exciting when people become members, because to me it lets me know that my streaming and what I'm doing is actually worth continuing. Not saying that there be anything to indicate to me to not continue doing it, but it just feels a lot more official, you know? Oh, it's The Whitest Kids You Know. Okay, yeah, that's a funny show. There's a lot of shows that back in like the 2000s that I feel like I completely missed. Especially now, like I don't even know any like newer comedy shows that really hit hard anymore, you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of them have sort of a bit of a weakness to them, or maybe perhaps a lack of creativity. By the time it came to me deciding to end my own life, I knew I'd hit rock bottom, but I knew exactly what to do. I checked myself into a mental health facility and stayed there for just over a week until my mood was stabilized. I ended up meeting up with a friend and telling them that I felt that there was a hole left in my life, one that my girlfriend used to occupy. He suggested I get a dog. I was confused and annoyed by the comment at first. I mean, how could an animal make an adequate substitute for a person? But once he had a chance to explain himself a little better, I started to see his point. I would keep my mind occupied and give me something to dedicate myself to. It would make a companion. But most importantly, it would give me the attention and affection I needed to start putting myself together again. I went from against the idea to calling up an adoption agency within a couple of hours. Within a week, I had brought home a golden Labrador retriever named Daisy. Something else that would prove a major boon that my friend had neglected to touch on was the routine it would bring. A chaotic lifestyle is a breeding ground for depression and other personality disorders, so the fact that I had woken up at a certain time, fed her at a certain time, walked her at a certain time, it was all really beneficial and kept my mind off of things that would drag me down. One of my favorite things to do with Daisy was to take her on her morning walks. Getting some fresh air in the lungs, starting my day with the joy of playing with my dog, it was the best thing for me. I mean, I don't doubt that mood stabilizers did help, but the real benefit came from developing a meaningful relationship with an animal. Crazy, I know, but life is crazy. So I'm out with Daisy one morning, taking her around the public park that's just a short walk from my apartment. It's a beautiful morning, crisp but bright, and I'm watching Daisy running up and down the grass, chasing any birds which are foolish enough to land. Part of our route around the park takes us past a kids' play area. You know, the kind with jungle gyms, swings, and slides, that sort of thing. The way the path is laid out, there's like this big cluster of bushes that blocks the playground from sight for a few yards, but if you follow the path, eventually the playground comes into view. This particular morning, instead of bounding into the bushes in search of potential playmates or prey, Daisy just stops dead. She half stares into the bushes, half sniffs the air for a few moments before letting out a single muffled bark. This wasn't like normal behavior at all, and as any dog owner will tell you, I knew something was wrong the moment her demeanor changed. She came back to my heel without even me telling her to, whining like there was something terrifying hiding in those bushes. I immediately took out Daisy's leash, clipping it to her collar before slowly carrying on along the path. I was tempted to shout hello or something at the bush since Daisy was alerting so much, but I couldn't hear or see anything. Dang, that sounded weird. But I couldn't hear or see a thing. Full-grown pizza. But I couldn't hear or see a thing. It's not like they were so dense as to properly obscure anything. Daisy is still acting pretty skittishly as we make our way past the bushes, and lets out another few barks as we're passing the kids' playground. I tell her to shush, looking back briefly, but seeing nothing unusual before I continued to try and calm her down. She's pulling on the leash really hard, and since I picked it up from the dollar store and I didn't exactly have much faith in it, she's still looking back at the playground, so I take another look back to see what she's barking at. It was only then that my tired eyes registered what I'd failed to pick up on the first time I looked. What was oddly camouflaged among the swing set, hanging there, along with the plastic strings, was the lifeless shape of a person. I didn't know what else to do. I knew I had to call someone, but I just didn't have it in me to stick around to guide the cops in or whoever responds to these kinds of things. I just kept walking, feeling like I was about to have a panic attack as I tried. This sentence is weird here, sorry. I just kept walking, feeling like I was about to have a panic attack as I took out my phone. Okay. I just kept walking, feeling like I was about to have a panic attack as I took out my phone and dialed 911. I did the best that I could to give an accurate information between shaky and panicky breaths. The dispatcher was nice. She tried to keep me calm. I remember just sitting down in the dirt in my work clothes, petting Daisy until I had calmed down enough to walk back home. I called into work and tried to keep my mind clear throughout the day, but it was on the evening news, too. I couldn't escape it. It was horrible seeing the limp form of something that used to be a person just hanging there in the morning light. But the thing that really got to me was that just a month or so before, I'd been tempted to do a similar thing myself. It was just too close to home. That could have been me hanging there for for some oblivious dog walk. Oh, yeah. Old Greg. I love Old Greg. The Mighty Boosh is a great show. That's one of those ones from back then that snuck up on me a bit later. That could have been me hanging there for some oblivious dog walker to come across. It was a hideous sight. It was a hideous thought. I never wanted anyone to find me like that, stiff as a board and blue in the face. It must have been a horrible way to die. But the horror of it, and how it reflected on me, isn't the thing that really scares me about this whole thing. It's how Daisy acts on her morning walks, almost half a year after the event. She still goes quiet as we approach the playground, still lets out the off-muffled bark, despite there not being a soul in sight. Every time we walk past, she stops and stares at that old, rusty swing set, as if there's still a body hanging there by the neck in the bright morning light. One stretch that is also that's terrifying to find a body suicided on a swing. One thing that's really helped me with stretching as time has gone on, because I've come to find that my biggest issue has been my hamstrings and hips, is I do a series of 3 stretches. One is just having your one leg up in maybe like a doorway or something like that, and having the one straight up while the other one kind of like goes up and back and forth almost like a clock hand or something, or a pendulum, and it stretches your hamstrings. Trying to stretch your hamstrings is important. And then I also do what's called a couch stretch that really stretches like your interior hip flexors, kind of deep within the connective areas of your groin to your hips and all that kind of stuff. And then also doing a pigeon stretch. And you can look these up or ask me later if you're actually interested. But basically, those take a lot of tension off of your legs, which then translates to your lower back. So if you do have back issues, tightness like that, stretching out the hammies and the hips and all that kind of stuff is actually really, really beneficial. And that's what I've been trying to do lately. Hey, Kylie Woo is a full-grown pizza, a new member of the Buttersock Call. Thank you, Kylie, for joining. Welcome, welcome. Also, I have a story to tell you guys that happened to me. And I don't actually remember if my Alzheimer's is kicking in here, but I don't really remember if I told you guys this before, but I'm pretty sure the last time that I streamed was on Halloween. Correct me if I'm wrong. All my days kind of mixed together sometimes, but the scorpion pose is good for the back. Nice, yeah, that's a really good one. We do that once in a while in classes, and I should try to do that myself more often. But just staying on top of your body. I should become a contortionist. I know, that's my next step in life, honestly. YouTube, the contortion. So after the stream last time on Halloween, I wanted candy. We talked about candy. I got a huge desire to go stuff my face with various types of candy. And so I went on my way to Walmart and kind of directly off my house, you enter into not necessarily what's a main highway per se, but it's a main stretch of road that eventually connects to major highways. So it's 2 lanes on one side of the road going one way, 2 lanes going the other. Probably about 45 to 50 mile per hour speed limit. And so I'm on it, and I'm in the central lane, closest to the other lane, going probably about 40 to 50 miles per hour. And my windshield is relatively covered in just needs to be washed or waxed or whatever the fuck, because when the cars were coming at me, 2 of them come in the opposite direction, the shine from their car kind of blinded me, so the only real reference I had to where I was in relation to the road was pretty much where I was in relation to them. And I'm like, well, if I'm not doing a head-on into them right now, I feel like I'm in pretty much the appropriate spot. And then as one of them goes by me, literally directly 10 feet in front of me off to my right, in the lane, is literally a college-age kid who wasn't even dressed up for Halloween, but had his arms like outstretched, like backing like away from my lane towards the other lane on the right, almost as if they're like, come at me, bro, and like and I literally had to like split second, Tokyo drift around to the left to avoid him, and then get back on, onto the road and continue on. And it was so terrifying because afterwards I was just like running through my head like exactly how close I was to literally like getting off a stream here and then almost hitting, some 20-something-year-old. Yeah, that would have been the worst thing ever. And then I called the police. I called 911, and I guess when I was on the phone with them, they told me they got like 2 other calls from other people who almost hit him as well. And it was funny because then the cop called me while I was at Walmart and just sounded like, I don't know, he just sounded like, so like, what did he look like again? Because I'm going up and down the road where they reported it, and I can't find him. And it was so weird because like in my mind, there was honestly a part of me, the way that he just sort of like appeared in the middle of the road backing up, I was just like, is that a fucking ghost? Like it honestly appeared like a movie, like a ghost in a movie at the last second. It was fucking scary. But still got a bunch of candy. And whenever you don't eat like other stuff, sometimes candy makes you freaking sick. And that's what that candy made me feel like. Mr. Gooley with the 2 says, what kind of car do I drive? I've had the same car since 2013. It's a 2013 RAV4. Been a great car, honestly. It's been pretty good in the winter, and which fuck winter, by the way. Really not a fan of cold or slick roads and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I've had that for quite a while. And Toyota, like RAV4s and all that kind of stuff, are pretty well known for their safety features and all that kind of jazz. So I don't know. A lot of people are into cars or have a dream car, or this and that. Like I don't really care. Like as long as the thing's safe and gets from point A to point B. I almost died after stream. Well, yeah, my life would have been over. I mean, I don't know how responsible I would have been held legally for like vehicular manslaughter on somebody, you know what I mean? Can't spell slaughter without laughter. But yeah, I mean, even if I wouldn't have been held legally liable for this drunken, most likely blacked out kid wandering in the road late at night, it still would have like mentally scarred me for a long period of time to have even severely injured someone like that, you know. I should migrate to the South for winter. That would be pretty cool. What state? I'm in Pennsylvania, East Coast. Sir, you hit a ghost. You're going to ghost jail. I'm haunted by the college boys. Yo, bro, join my frat in hell. But yeah, and it's weird because thinking it, like when I think about people's decisions when they're blacked out, like, it's not good, folks, not good. But like more in the sense that like none of them even remember what they did, you know. So like there's some like deep-seated strange subconscious decision in that kid's mind that like, I'm sad in my blacked out state and I'm going to go try and either make it across this road and challenge a car, like, fucking come at me, car, I'll take you on, you're not 2 tons of steel moving 50 miles an hour. Or he had some sort of underlying desire for suicide, which I don't know which is scarier, to be honest, but it reminds me of the whirligig. You guys remember that story? I think I've talked about that before. It's funny, all this shit that sticks with me since like elementary school. But I remember reading the whirligig, and the guy tried to like kill himself by driving off the road into another car, but ended up killing the other driver, and then they survived. And then just the guilt from killing somebody else by trying to kill yourself was so much that they, you know, to overcome these things, they went around creating these sort of windmill type things called whirligigs or whatever. I don't know. Who the fuck cares, man? I don't even know. But sad nonetheless. All right, so the next story is called Captain Jack. I've always liked parrots. I was really into pirates when I was a kid. I used to watch Pirates of the Caribbean on loop sometimes while dressed in this little pirate costume. I'm pretty sure my mom has some pretty embarrassing pictures floating around somewhere too, but I digress. Obviously, a big part of pirate lore is having a pet parrot, a colorful, feathered friend who makes even more colorful remarks while perched on your shoulder. When I was younger, I'd beg my parents for a pet parrot, promising I'd look after it all by myself. They refused. We already had a dog and a cat. Shit. We already had a dog. Dude, seriously, headed to San Antonio soon. Prayers appreciated. Yeah, definitely. What's happening there? San Antone. I know from what I hear the traffic in Texas is just complete shite, especially around the Austin area. But they refused. We already had a dog and a cat, and they were trouble enough. Years later, once I'd moved out and had a steady-paying job, I decided it was time to get a pet. Naturally, a parrot was one of the first things that came to mind. After looking into purchasing one, I learned 2 things. Firstly, some breeds of parrots are extremely intelligent, not just because of their ability to mimic human speech. I don't know how to say this one. Ornithologist?
Ornithologist.
A person who studies or is an expert on birds. When birds. Firstly, some breeds of parrot are extremely intelligent, not just because of their ability to mimic human speech. Ornithologists have claimed that African gray parrots have shown to perform at the cognitive level of a 4 to 6-year-old child in some tasks, as well as being able to learn number sequences and recognize human voices. While browsing online, I happened across the story of one particular African gray who managed to escape from its Japanese owner's apartment and get itself lost. The bird actually managed to make its way back to the owner by repeating his name and address to whoever it met. The second thing I learned is that African grays are not cheap. Purchasing a young, healthy bird from a breeder can cost just shy of $5,000, which was $5,000 that I just could not afford. And that's not even including all the proper perches, cages, and grooming equipment to keep the bird happy and healthy. Dejected, I didn't quite give up hope on my dream pet. Dude, my voice is cracking so much, it's so annoying. Yes. What YouTube friend of yours has the biggest subs? I mean, sometimes I'll talk to Chills, but not like a lot. So I would just consider him like an acquaintance, I suppose. But he's definitely a really nice guy who I've had a chance to talk with at length on Skype a few times, or I guess maybe only once. But he's a great guy and he has a lot of subs. Blame It on George is someone. Blame It on Jorge is a YouTube channel does documentaries and countdowns that I feel like I'm closest with because we play a lot of games, and his channel is, I believe, close to 1 million subs or something like that. But definitely, like acquaintances with a lot of like other narrators and that kind of thing, but don't often get to like really be tight with them too much. The second thing I learned is that they're not cheap. Dejected, I didn't get... Okay. Dejected, I didn't quite give up on my dream pet. Fuck, that sounded weird. What about Mr. Nightmare? No, I've never talked to Mr. Nightmare. He doesn't talk to anyone, I don't think. Maybe a few people. But he's definitely never talked to me. Which I think is smart on his part. I mean, he's the biggest guy in the subgenre of true scary stories, and I mean, he pretty much just does his own thing, and he probably has like a job or something in addition to this, because he doesn't put out a lot of content, and drink hot tea for my voice. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I have any tea right now. I normally make some before, but not tonight. I need to buy some more of those like K-cup tea things. B-Buster, yeah, me and B-Buster, like, we're actually going to start promoting each other. He had an idea to sort of cross-promote on the community tab. I don't know how you guys feel towards the community tab. I feel like I've gotten a lot of like negativity from it, because when you post on it, it gives people a notification, and it annoys people that they're not getting the sort of like, dopamine rush that you're releasing a new video or something of that nature. So like whenever I would post on there or something like that, I feel like people would say, stop posting on, the community tab, or I'm unsubbing, which maybe, I guess it makes sense. It might be kind of annoying or whatever, but I think it's silly to like hold people to that certain standard. But yeah, I think me and B-Bus are going to start promoting each other like on Sundays and Mondays, just to cross promote, to get people to go to their videos and stuff. I don't know how that'll work, but we shall see. Billy Amber with the 2 says, on my way home, glad I could hear you tonight. Thank you, Billy. Thanks for being here. Yeah, Unit 522, I haven't talked to in a long time. We were pretty tight, like, initially, and did collabs and stuff together. But, like, actually, I think we were even friends on Facebook. at one point, and I think we still are. I don't really use Facebook anymore, but it just kind of exists as like a messenger service for me. But yeah, all the narrators, like everybody I've ever met is like just super nice, super nice people, which is great. I mean, you would hope they would be. I mean, if anybody was mean, it would be kind of awkward. Yeah, Swamp Dweller. Yeah, everybody, great people. Dejected, I didn't quite give up hope on my dream pet, so I started calling around various animal shelters to see if they happened to be housing any African greys. I must have called upwards of 50 animal shelters in 3 different states, but eventually, to my absolute joy, I actually found a shelter that had one available for adoption. I put the phone down, got into my car, and immediately drove down to the shelter. What I found when I got there was an older bird who'd suffered a few health problems in the past, but was perfectly house-trained and friendly. And its name? Captain Jack. I couldn't believe my luck. It was like it was meant to be. I filled out a few papers, then took Captain Jack home that evening. One of the things the lady at the shelter mentioned was that Captain Jack might be a little shy for the first week or so in his new home. It's not unusual for such intelligent animals to be sad to leave a familiar place, or to be overly wary of new surroundings. He might not make a sound for weeks, but eventually he began to relax and start being vocal again. The lady was right. Captain Jack was a bit shy for the first few days. We did some trust exercises, me leaving food in the palm of my hand just like the lady at the shelter had shown me. He'd even started letting me pet him much sooner than I'd imagined. But at no point did he make so much as a squeak, and quite frankly, I couldn't wait to hear him to talk for the first time. Emmy B with the 2 says, love the Halloween background. Thank you, Emmy. Yeah, this will probably be the last stream I have that, since it's now November. It's turkey season. Do I ever talk to Your Maker? Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, Your Maker's a great guy. He's a father, I believe. I could be wrong. Yeah, GM Danielson, great dude. They're all great. And honestly, if you DM them, they probably all respond to you. All of us, YouTube, especially on this kind of like end of YouTube where it's not like we're some sort of, I don't know, we're not like the vloggers or whatever that have like some sort of complex to us, you know what I mean? Like, we enjoy hearing from the feedback of the fans and subscribers and stuff like that. But at no point did he make so much as a squeak, and quite frankly, I couldn't wait to hear him talk for the first time. Only when he did, it wasn't the happy occasion I thought it would be. It was late on a Friday. I was lazing around, watching TV, debating on whether or not to just call it and go to bed. When I heard it, I almost jumped out of my skin. I see you. I didn't even realize it was Captain Jack at first, but when I did, he spoke again. I can smell you. I should have been happy. I should have been elated that Captain Jack had finally gotten relaxed enough to speak. But I wasn't. I was just confused. What did you say, boy? But Jack said nothing. He just looked back at me, cocking his head. Still confused, I gave him a little pet on the head, then headed to bed to get some sleep. The next morning, as soon as I walked downstairs to get a coffee, I remembered the weird stuff that Captain Jack had said. I walked into the living room to say good morning to him, hoping he didn't come out with something even stranger. Hi, I said in a cheery voice. I let out a huge sigh of relief, returning the cheerful greeting before fetching my coffee and a little of feed for him. Shit. Billy Amber with the 2 says, next trip to Colorado for Christmas time. Go with me, Joel. That'd be cool. Colorado. I've been to Colorado. I was to Boulder and Denver once. And it was fun. It was a beautiful place. Seemed really, really cool. Really great hiking and places to travel, and the fact that the elk are just on the side of the road. They're not afraid of anybody. I thought that was pretty interesting. Prairie dogs. And I remember we went, it took an hour to get to the peak of this one mountain that we were driving up and then going hiking. Everybody had snowshoes that were, like tennis rackets on their feet. And, dude, we were going, and I'm fairly certain within a half an hour we got lost, and snow was like 3 feet deep, and I thought we were going to die. We did end up getting to this one sort of like lake that the spire of a large mountain kind of overlooked, which was beautiful. And then randomly we just like made it back. Like, I don't even know. I felt like we got like teleported just to the beginning of it. And I remember my one friend like sprinting down the hill to get out of there, and like tripping and falling in the snow and sliding. It was pretty funny. But we made it out alive, and it was just like so funny to think that in my mind, I thought we were actually dead. We were like lost and dead. And then all of a sudden there were like little kids walking past us with their snowshoes on. It was really cute. And we moved on with life. I don't know. It's strange. My friends with Stranger Stories and Dark and Twisted. I don't think so. I never heard of them. Did I miss a... No. What do I think of Overwatch 2? I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I'll probably play it, but Overwatch 2 is essentially just going to be PvE, and I like the PvE, and I've said before with the PvE, it would be cool if there was a whole story mode to go with it. And to be honest, I probably will buy it. I'll probably play through it, maybe play it more than once. But when I look at it as sort of like a single-player first-person shooter experience, and having already sort of experienced the novelty of Overwatch as what it is, there's nothing about it to me that really screams that I must have it. You know what I mean? Like, because all of the new heroes and PvP maps will come out on Overwatch 1 in conjunction. I believe you get it a little bit earlier on Overwatch 2. So not super excited about it. It's cool that it's going to exist. But does it need to exist as Overwatch 2? Maybe in the sense of marketing, perhaps, but in the sense of like it actually being anything beyond like an expensive expansion pack, I feel like the 2 on the end of it's just a reason to charge us like $60. If it comes out at $40, preferably if it comes out at $30, that would be, I feel like, the best price point. But I don't know. Yeah, of course I love you. I just, it's so hard for me to get like stoked anymore. I was actually mildly excited to play Call of Duty. I'm really sad that the glitch happened where my screen was just black. Do I have a child? Just my cat, just my black cat, just me and him, and yeah, no relations, family, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I have my parents and my brothers and stuff, and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, no official adult business going on really in my life besides the YouTube channel. It's weird how fast time can go by. It's very strange. I sort of had like an expectation that I would have like a family by this point in my life. I kind of thought I would by the time I was like 25, but it did not pan out, and honestly, I'm not complaining or anything like that. I'm 29. Yeah. You play on the iPad. Wow. COD Mobile. Yeah, I don't know if I could do a mobile shooter. 4chan Cancer. Welcome. Great name. The meme team. All right. I let out a huge sigh of relief, returning the cheerful greeting before fetching my coffee and a little feed for him. He was kept up the good I don't know why this little bit of grammatical errors just throw me off so much. Will I ever have kids? I mean, if I ever get married, I would love to have kids. I think kids are fantastic. I think they're like Kanye West recently had said that children are your greatest and your treasure on earth, your greatest investment. And they really are. I mean, they literally give you purpose in your life on the very sort of definition of it. I'm not saying that not having children doesn't, you can't find purpose and stuff. Billy with the 2 says, have a kid with me. Get in line, sister. No, I'm just kidding. No, I having children would be cool. Kids are overrated. That's funny. I think I would really hope to have some good ones, like, and make sure to raise them to be respectful and all that kind of stuff, because I can imagine how difficult they can be if they are not good, you know what I mean? But I'm sure it's different for everybody. Yeah, adopting and fostering is really good too. I remember I saw a friend of mine has a friend of a friend. Don't know him super well, but he's fostered to adopted over about 12 children. And the government gives them, and this is in the state of Pennsylvania, I don't really know if this is different for anybody, gives them like total some insane amount of money, some like really, really insane amount of money. Now, granted, obviously a lot of that money is going to each 12. You have to have 12 kids that you got to take care of. Like, holy shit. But I mean, that's him and his wife's like job. And it was funny because his dad, he was this really, really funny guy who was like a Vietnam vet, just like tells how it is. And he's like, honestly, for years and years, I thought he was gay, and I thought he was never even going to meet a woman. Then all of a sudden he met so-and-so, and now they got 12 foster kids together, you know. And the cool thing is that they're like a really, really good, at least from what I see on the surface level, like a really, really good family. Like the children just seem happy, and the parents seem respectful of them, and that kind of thing. I've seen probably about 2 examples of families that foster a lot of children, and the manner in which the parents kind of treat the kids and the way the kids perceive them later in life is very, very bad. And it's sad because it's like, are these people just innately bad? Or what was the pressure of having that many kids and fostering them just too much to keep up with, to build a relationship with each one of the kids to the point that it was negative? I don't really know. But I know that as long as you have good intentions going into it, it's certainly a very noble thing to partake in, because those, being in the foster system, it's a sad state of affairs, and you would hope that there are people good hearts willing to step up and care for those children. Jesse says, I live in PA right now, and that's true as well as for home state, Oklahoma. I was in the foster care system for 4 years of my life, and sadly my foster parents only did it for the money. Oh man, yeah. I'm really sorry to hear that. You hope people are above that kind of stuff, but I hope things are going well for you now. Billy, you want to have kids and adopt too? It would be nice. Yeah, I think it's great. I think that sounds like a really good thing. Anybody who, I respect all decisions on all that front. I mean, children are the future, and I mean, taking care of them, they're like the greatest thing. Caitlin, I notice you. What's poppin'? What are you doing? Are you adopting kids? I see you online. I see you adopting those kids online. Here's the step. Here's how you do it. First, you get a Neopet, then a Digimon, then a cat, a dog, and then a kid. It's just a progression, you know what I mean? If you had a bunch of money to open a foster home. Yeah, you always just hear, that would be I'd like to look into some stories about scary foster stories, because I could see that being pretty terrifying. Also, the one scary thing about like foster systems, actually I won't get into that because I don't want to go into specifics of where I'm from, but basically the foster system, I remember hearing a lot of the times, and this is not how I'm just like creating a sort of narrative that if you guys are familiar with, you can back me up on. Otherwise, correct me. I'm fine with that. But I just remember hearing that the foster system is very, very prone to the concept of like human trafficking, child trafficking, and that kind of thing, because these kids, these souls, essentially are just numbers. You know what I mean? They're unkept. No one there to look out for them, and they can be easily trafficked from area to area and that kind of thing. So that's one of the more sad aspects I've heard of the foster care system, is that's very prone to child trafficking in that very nefarious sense. Jesse says, sorry to blow up your mentions, but what you're talking about kind of reminds me of that real-life orphan story. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that, though, but I can imagine it sounds scary. You want to buy a house in foster? Well, yeah, apparently adopting is very expensive. Am I wrong about that? So, like, fostering to adopt is kind of the way to go. Is that, Ra wants me to adopt them? Yeah. Ra, you can be my child servant. And go and get me some tea, please. Thank you. First order of business. Please and thank you. All right. You accidentally hit yourself with a hammer. Oh my god. He kept up the good old behavior for the rest of the day, only coming out with the odd hi there or wow. He kept up the good behavior for the rest of the day, too, only coming out with the odd hi there or wow. It was simple stuff, but I got a real kick out of it. But once the sun went down, Captain Jack went quiet again. Despite me allowing him to roam freely around my apartment at this point, he actually opted to return to his cage. He stayed there, skulking around, not coming out at all. But it wasn't long before he spoke again. "Where are you hiding?" he hissed. I guess that didn't sound like a hiss. "Where are you hiding?" he hissed. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just wanted to see where all this weird talk was going. Maybe I'd figure out just where he'd picked it all up. "When I find you, little rats." It sounded angry. "I see your nightmares." It was weird, discordant stuff, but it sent a chill through me as I tried to imagine where he'd been hearing things like this. But the next thing it said actually made me terrified. "No!" it screeched. "Please, no more! Please, no more! I'll be good!" It repeated these phrases over and over again, until I rushed into the TV room and shushed him. Captain Jack went quiet and actually seemed apologetic afterwards, hopping into the kitchen and rubbing his head against my pant leg. I contacted the animal shelter just a day or two later, once the weekend was over, to find out exactly what was going on with the parrot. If you haven't put it together by now, and I don't blame you, I didn't quite realize what was happening either. Captain Jack had been rescued from an abusive household. The father had apparently beaten his wife and children regularly, and the parrot had witnessed everything. I felt awful for him, and the woman at the shelter said she actually understood if I opted to return him to their care. But I didn't. I couldn't. Captain Jack had a safe, loving home for maybe the first time in his life, and there was no way I was going to take that away from him, even if he did come out with some very creepy... shit. And there was no way I was taking that away from him, even if he did come out with something creepy every now and then. Kitty! Pradeep's a good cat, in case you guys were wondering if he was bad. He's not. My name is E-Joel, and I'm an E-boy. Let's set the sails. Chips ahoy. Anyone else getting Christmas ads yet? Yeah, this is like the biggest time for marketing ever, so I feel like it's gonna be a good month. Some people see the world as selfish, so why can't they act selfishly too? And okay, Route 66 is a big reason for trafficking. Yeah, it's so weird. Like, apparently the United States is just massive for that kind of stuff, but it's all just like underground, covered up, connections to politicians and people with power, Hollywood, all that crazy shit. Almost like that's part of the reason I feel like I never would want to be a part of like that kind of world. Well, you know, on the Hollywood sense. What was the voice I just did? I don't even remember. You bought your Christmas presents already? Dude, you're on top of it. You're not going to get trampled on Black Friday this time. Mariah Carey is creeping in with her music. Dude, ever since I was in like middle school, I felt like I was the only one to ever notice that Mariah Carey in all of her stupid music videos never once like moved. She was always just like curled up in a glob like on her side, looking very tantalizing, but only very specifically from one angle. And it was like, she almost just reminded me of like they captured like a mermaid or something, and they just like it. She was just stuck there, you know, in that mermaidish position, unable to walk or stand or do anything. I don't know if she's still making videos or not, but I should adopt a 15 to 18-year-old because they throw kids out of foster care at 18. Yeah, that's, I mean, I don't think I could handle that, to be honest with you. I mean, I understand the perspective, but I feel like maybe I would be way too young to be a sort of like parent to a 15 to 18-year-old, you know? Because that would have to have put me at like hypothetically having the child at in my like early teens, you know what I mean? And I just don't think the child would respect me, if that makes sense. It'd be like, essentially, I'd be like an older brother or something, or like a cousin. I don't even know. That's probably not something I'd do, but I respect those who would do it to help them out. Hi, kitty. Oh, man. Also, the new Star Wars, did you guys... It's funny how quickly that died down. Dude, Star Wars has been such a disappointment. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, it's, you know, you can't really go anywhere but up after Jar Jar Binks, but I kind of like Jar Jar Binks. I thought he was a fun character, especially with the concepts that he was potentially like a Sith Lord. That was going to be sweet, I thought, but then that never came to fruition. But I don't know. I saw a commercial for the new Star Wars, and it just seems so lackluster, and I'm already like not invested in the characters. I'm like borderline about not to see that movie, but kind of have to just based on like pop culture completion sense. I don't know. Like the Han Solo one. The only thing, and it's been out for a while, so spoiler alert for the Han Solo movie. At the end, you find out that the one guy's like, or the girl's Sith Lord is Darth Maul. Hey Bree, what's up? And Lisa Jar Jar Binks. Oh, Annie. And I'm excited. I love Darth Maul. I could totally see them like completely screwing that up, but I really think there's a lot of potential with Darth Maul there. It would be dope. The dude who played Jar Jar thought about killing himself because he got so much hate for playing Jar Jar. Yeah, I remember seeing that video. He was like about to jump off a bridge or something like that, which is really sad. It's so sad to so sad to think that playing Jar Jar Binks would drive a man to insanity. Do you think Boba Fett is really dead? Oh, like when he fell in that Sarlacc pit? Dude, that's what's cool. Is that maybe he's not. Holy cow, that's a good point. Well, what was it? Jango Fett got his head chopped off. But then, like, the way Boba Fett died was so, like, it was such a blue ball experience. It was just like, because if you were just watching the old Star Wars, you really didn't know who Boba Fett was, I guess, for the most part. And then suddenly he just like gets shot in his like jet boosters and falls in a Sarlacc pit. And then why the hell, like I don't know, they added all those weird CGI effects and all this strange stuff. Like, what was the point, you know? Like, well, it was totally perfect how it was. I mean, at this point, I'm sure you can probably find ones with the old stuff as well, but it doesn't even really matter. I kind of want to like get into Dune. Does Dune have like any movies or stuff like that? I feel like Dune is way more interesting. It was a beautiful sunny day, just a few light wisps of cloud in an otherwise crystal clear blue sky. 22-year-old U.S. Marine Sergeant Stephen Reichenbach was trudging his way up a steep green hill, his scouting dog, Major, moving steadily along beside him. He was on a mission, only he wasn't supposed to be. He was a short-timer, meaning his tour of Vietnam was coming to an end. Many American military units kept their short-timers safe from patrols and combat duty, as a soldier getting killed in action just a few days before the end of a tour was incredibly bad for unit morale. But Sergeant Reichenbach wasn't a week or even a few days away from going home. That beautifully sunny day was supposed to be his very last in Vietnam, his last day with his scouting dog Major. The replacement handlers had already arrived in country and were ready to pick up the leashes as soon as Reichenbach and his fellow handlers left Vietnam to make their way back home. But when the request came in for a dog team to go out with a group of Marines on a patrol mission, Reichenbach willingly volunteered himself. After all, it was his one last chance to work with his working dog Major. Weighing in at almost 100 pounds, Major, a Great Dane Shepherd mix with a creamy off-white color, had a large and intimidating presence. The sight of such a huge dog would strike fear into the hearts of the enemy. Reichenbach began to notice that once the Viet Cong saw Major coming through the jungle toward them, they would trigger their ambushes early out of pure terror. Major's size alone was enough to put the fear of God into them. It was standard practice for U.S. Marine dog handlers to train with their canines back in the States before deploying to Vietnam. But unlike many of the other handlers who had been shipped over to Vietnam in 1966, Reichenbach hadn't trained with Major before deploying. Instead, he had been paired up with the dog once he arrived in country. The dog handler, Major, had been paired with... The dog handler Major he had been paired with before their arrival in Vietnam had been KIA just a few weeks prior to Reichenbach's arrival. Yet in spite of the fact that they were grouped together purely out of convenience, Reichenbach and Major developed a rapport from the very first moment they met. That sounded weird, sorry. Who else is drunk? Lol. Thanks. Let's read for VP. Do you ever take a second to just think like how you could change political systems? Like not perpetuate the same thing, but like, so you have, what do you have? Like the United States is a democratic republic, right? And then there's democracy in other parts of the world. There's dictatorships, things of that nature. And I've always been curious, like, is there like some varied form of government where power isn't so consolidated, you know what I mean? Like, is where it's not just like one hierarchical position, you know what I mean? And I almost feel as if though, well, yeah, democracy needs to evolve, and I agree with that, but I don't know how, because anarchy, I mean, like, I just don't really know how it would occur, because these are sort of universal truths within like people's societies where it's almost as if you need a certain figurehead or decision maker. I don't think communism is an evolution of democracy, my friend. It's actually much worse. But I don't really know the direction you can really go. It's yeah, I'm not sorry. I don't mean to get political at all. I'm just like I'm more thinking along like political philosophy, not so much as saying one is right or wrong, but like I'm honestly generally curious where we could I don't know. Is there a way to I mean, I guess if each individual state, how we have in the United States here, like had some sort of like if they were all had like equal power in some fashion, I could because basically to a certain degree I think stalemates I almost feel like stalemates are sometimes the best thing for countries to maintain a status quo, you know what I mean, but like for long periods of time. And it would be interesting to think if like all the states had some sort of equal power without someone above them. I mean, obviously I don't know if that would lead to any sort of conflict, but I don't know. All I know is that the more you consolidate power to a few individuals is usually the worse it gets. Epstein killed himself. We're changing the meme around. We're switching it up right here. Yeah. Everyone's got their perspectives. I'm just trying to think of... I don't know. I guess there's no perfect system. All I know is that the more power you put into the government's hand, the worse things seem to get. I think we all can agree on that. Yet in spite of the fact that they were grouped together purely out of coincidence... Oh, fuck, sorry. Austin, that's a great hashtag. With over every letter of the alphabet in one hashtag. Did I watch the Slender Man movie? I didn't. I heard it was bad and I didn't really care either. Read to me. I'm trying to read. The report you're writing is killing you. Yeah. Big Brother. Well, that's the thing, is like people talk about Big Brother, but Big Brother is literally just you and me. You know what I mean? It's just you and me. Me and you are Big Brother to someone else, or we could be, technically, if we went and worked for, a particular governing body apparatus that somehow has legal jurisdiction to, overstep their, actions against you legally. Like, that is Big Brother. And obviously, when you have power, you kind of want to maintain it, which is unfortunate. Obviously, that's a test of ethics that doesn't really exist within government. Ethics is not something that you can expect of people in power. They're not going to be ethical to you unless there's something to protect you, maybe the Constitution or something of that nature. But I don't know. I think a lot of times people they think of the nebulous concept of government and they fear it to a certain degree, but I don't think we realize how much power we have to actually influence it, you know what I mean? Like, to be influencers in our world. Billy Amber with 2 says, "Can I be your love slave? I'm 50 Shades of Grey." At the top, the peak tower. The Jolaminati. Yeah, we can start our own Illuminati to take the power back, guys. Honestly, I think it's sometimes you almost need like various warring factions with each other so that not one particular one has all the consolidation of power. It's like it to a large degree. I remember hearing from people talked about in Dune. They talked about the God Emperor in Dune, and one of the quotes from the God Emperor was that like, no matter how much peace you give people, eventually they will look like it's part of human nature to like look for conflict, So I feel like to a certain degree it's almost beneficial from someone who might control things at the way top to generate various factions that fight with each other so that it kind of maintains that constant sensation, or at least the illusion of conflict or having like a common enemy and that kind of thing. I've always been very interested in like PSYOP, like psychological operations and how they affect populations and that kind of thing. If anybody has any information on that, I'd be very interested, because the way they dig into like the mass public's perception of reality is very interesting to me. Okay. Yet despite... Oh, shit. Go on that long tangent. Now I can't read. Lube the lips. Always the first thing. Chat is deep tonight. Yet in spite of the fact that they were grouped together purely out of convenience, Reichenbach and Major developed a rapport from the very first moment they met. The young Marine and his newfound furry friend had many similar personality traits. They were both chilled, even-keeled types who didn't waste much energy getting excited about much of anything. A quiet, well-disciplined dog, Major never barked and he never growled. He was never shaken by the cacophony of gunfire around him. Reichenbach never saw Major act up at all, except for the one time they came across a cat, a kitten that weighed no more than 3 pounds. But as soon as Major caught the scent of this little creature on the breeze, he went nuts, moving so fast to chase the cat he nearly ragged his handler into the dirt. On their final day in Vietnam together, they both marched up the hill, which was mostly bare, offering no rocks or trees to find cover behind. Shortly after, one of the Marines in the company stepped into a punji stake trap. Punji? Punji? Is it Punji or Punji? Yeah, 700 people, guys. Thanks for being here. Click that like button and share with your grandma if you haven't already. Punji stick. Oh, it's like a spike trap. Jesus, imagine falling into a fucking spike trap. Holy God.
Punji.
Punji. Into a punji trap. Like, but you don't die. You're just like immediately, you're just like stuck down there. Ah! Don't think about that. That's sad. Do I ever listen to my own videos? I've listened to some like paranormal ones. I don't really like listening to my own videos just because it makes me think like of all the things I could do different or didn't do quite as well. But I'm usually not too critical of myself, seeing that I feel like I found like a pretty good rhythm. But I listened to some like stuff, like my paranormal stuff, and it actually freaks me out a lot. Like it actually makes me feel really uncomfortable, and I kind of like remember having the thought of, man, I can't believe I like make people scared for a living. Like kind of makes me sad that I do that to people, because obviously there's like a juxtaposition between making people scared and helping them fall asleep with, you know, anxiety or running thoughts and that kind of thing. So it's definitely quite a bit of sensations I'm delivering, I suppose. I'm going to let my cat out real quick. What's the burp count at? Oh, we're getting up there. You guys got to rate my burps if you hear them. 10 out of 10, hopefully. Shortly after, one of the Marines in the company stepped into a punji stake trap. A deep pitted lined... Fuck, dude. A deep pit lined with sharp bamboo spikes. One of the spears went right through his boot and into his foot. While the medic was giving the wounded man treatment, Reichenbach turned around to walk away with Major, and was hit with a bad feeling. He was suddenly overwhelmed with the sense that something wasn't quite right. That's when a mine exploded. A burst of red-hot, deadly shrapnel sprayed out behind it, cutting into 6 of the Marines and killing 4 of them. Reichenbach took a piece of the jagged metal to his upper right leg and left hip, causing precious life's blood to pour from the open wounds. Then Major, the dog that never growled, that was never freaked out by the cracking sound of gunfire or artillery shells, lay down at the wounded Reichenbach's side and bared his teeth. Major would not let anyone come near his handler. he would protect his master with his life. The Marines frantically hurried to get Reichenbach the medical attention he so desperately needed, but they had to get through Major first, who nipped and barked at them, unable to understand that they were trying to help his wounded friend. When the Marines finally got a muzzle on the dog, the company commander, Captain Walter Boomer, hoisted Major up and put him on the medical evacuation helicopter right on top of the wounded Reichenbach. As the chopper descended back at the base, the first thing the waiting medics saw was a huge hound, covered in blood, bearing down on them. It was a sight to behold. That was the last time Reichenbach would ever see Major. The Marine sergeant would spend the next 3 months of his service recuperating in a series of different military hospitals before finally flying back stateside. Meanwhile, Major was immediately paired up with a replacement handler, and as one of Reichenbach's fellow Marines would tell him later, when this new handler went to meet his new dog, Major was still covered in his old handler's blood. After Vietnam, and for the rest of his life, Reichenbach would never own another dog. After the war ended, he made no attempts to try to track down Major the way that some of the other dog handlers did, sending inquiries after their dogs in the hopes of adopting them. At one point, someone sent Reichenbach an email saying they'd found an official military document describing how Major had passed away of a jungle disease that had been killing off many of their dogs. But even if Major was still alive by the time the United States forces pulled out of Vietnam, he, like all but a few of the dogs still in country, would have been left behind. What's worse, many of these military dogs met with an unhappy end, likely were euthanized by the South Vietnamese army with whom they were left, or worse. Many of the handlers didn't find out for years that their canine partners never made it out of Vietnam alive. This is possibly the single darkest moment in the entire history of war dogs, especially considering how valuable they were to U.S. troops. An estimated 4,000 dogs served in the war, leading patrols with their handlers through dense jungle terrain. Overall, they are credited with saving tens of thousands of lives through... Overall, they are credited with saving tens of thousands of lives through sniffing out booby traps and ambushes. When he got out of the Marine Corps, Reichenbach never had another dog, but he still thinks of Major. Whenever some website asks for the name of his first pet as a security question, Reichenbach always lists Major, even though he wasn't really his first dog or really a pet. He was something more. He was a good boy, he says. He deserved better than he got, but he pauses, thinking for a moment. It was a useful life. Booby traps are what I call my hands. Just kidding. You're eating a Pop-Tart? Whoa. Whoa, dude, I never had one of those in a long time. Oh, man. I will probably eat food after this. That sounds very, very delicious. Almond booby traps. Guys, I gotta use the bathroom real quick. Oh, BRB. If someone asks where I am, tell them I'm using the bathroom. Hey, guys. Has anyone seen Let's Read? Where is he? He better not be taking a shit. He owes me money. Well, who are you? Who are you? I'm the guy who reads stories. What are you doing here? I'm here to collect. Your ears. You're gonna take my ears? Why? Because you're to better to hear you with. Okay, I'm calling the police. No. Did I shit it and farted? I did. Well, actually, just pizzed. You taking a shiz? Taking a huge shiz right down the old hole. I remember one time I had a pretty popular Facebook post that take his toes, no, suck his toes off. I had a pretty popular post on Facebook. I know you guys are probably curious about that post on Facebook. I remember I got off of work and took a dump, and I flushed the toilet, and I had a thought that I ended up posting on Facebook that was said, "Man, I feel bad for poop. It's probably so cramped down in those drains." And it was just funny because that got like 20 likes or something like that. When I remember at the time I think I only had like 60 friends on the Facebook, and it just goes to show you that you really can't go wrong with a good poop joke, especially whenever you try to like humanize poop to to try to understand the psychology of poop. You think the dog is cute that killed that ISIS guy? Yeah, she's a cutie. I believe it was a she. I feel like, did they only have one dog chase them? I don't know. I don't really care. I just remember hearing that guy died like 9 times before, so. Why am I talking about poop, Austin? Because it's the pinnacle of human comedy. And it's not puns like you think. Alright? This isn't Reddit. This is Poop It. Personification, yeah. I really like to personify shite. Alright, so this next one's called Travis. Everyone talking about poop and you're eating? Good, that's perfect time. I only eat. I honestly can only tolerate food when people begin talking about poopy. Have you ever wanted an unusual pet? Dogs, cats, or the odd goldfish might be all well and good for certain people, but some lean towards a more unconventional choice of furry friends. It has not been completely unheard of for some wealthy owners to purchase lions, tigers, bears, or even primates. This is the story of one primate that in particular... Shit. This is the story of one primate. Why does that sound weird? This is the last story. This is the second to last story. This is the story of one primate in particular, a chimpanzee by the name of Travis. Travis was born at the Missouri Chimpanzee Sanctuary just outside of Festus on October 21st, 1995. When he was just 3 years old, he was adopted by Sandra and Jerome Harold, who took Travis all the way back to their Stamford, Connecticut home. At first, in an effort to socialize him, the Harolds told Travis... Fuck, man, I suck at reading. At first, in an effort to socialize him, the Harolds took Travis everywhere with them. They would take him to work with them, and he would often accompany them on shipping trips. Okay. God damn it, dude. I legit cannot read a story. They would take him to work with them, and he would often accompany them on shopping trips to local supermarkets. Travis grew to be an incredibly intelligent, capable animal. He was able to use keys to open doors, drink wine from a stemmed glass, water plants, feed hay to horses, and even dress himself. He was also so fond of ice cream that he memorized the schedule of passing ice cream trucks. During an interview, the Heralds claimed that Travis was able to use a computer and the TV's remote control, and that he was a huge fan of baseball. As an animal collector, Travis had appeared in several television shows and commercials, including spots for Pepsi and Old Navy. He had also appeared on the Maury Povich Show, The Man Show, and a television pilot that featured Sheryl Crow and Michael Moore. It wasn't long before Travis wasn't only famous in his hometown, he was well known all over the United States. But despite growing up around humans becoming somewhat socialized, Travis wasn't exactly perfectly behaved. Also, I shaved my face today because I was supposed to do a Halloween. Supposed to go out for Halloween, and I had a mustache, but that didn't pan out. So I just shaved my entire face, and it looks so weird. I look very young, and I don't like it. I should do a live stream for the trees. Yeah. Are they any closer to planting 10 trillion trees? I feel like that wouldn't, I wouldn't have any way to prove that the money would go towards planting trees. And I don't really trust like any charities that don't, you know what I mean? I could just go out and plant trees myself. Pixar didn't happen. I think I have, do I have it? I don't know if I posted in selfies on the Discord of me with the mustache. I could. But despite growing up around humans becoming somewhat socialized, Travis wasn't exactly perfectly behaved. In October of 2003, Travis escaped from Harold's vehicle at a busy intersection. It was on the loose for several hours while he held up traffic. The incident apparently began after a pedestrian threw something at the car that went through a partially open window and struck Travis while they were stopped at a traffic light. Frightened and angry, Travis promptly unbuckled his seatbelt, opened the car door, and chased the man, but did not catch him. When police arrived, they lured the chimpanzee into the car several times, only to have Travis let himself out another door and occasionally chase the officers around the car. The incident led to the passing of a Connecticut law prohibiting people from keeping primates weighing more than 50 pounds as pets, and requiring owners of exotic pets to apply for permits. The Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection did not enforce the law of the Heralds because they had owned 200-pound Travis for so long that they did not believe Travis posed a public safety risk. 5.5 years later, on February... Dude, I don't know what's going on. My, voice is... My lips are getting limp. I got limp lips. I can't pronounce anything. Five and a half years later, on February... 5.5 years later, on February 16, 2009, 55-year-old friend of Sandra Harold, Charla Nash, stopped by to visit her. When she arrived, she found that Travis had taken Sandra's car keys and was refusing to give them back. In an effort to get Travis back inside the house to retrieve the keys, Charla Nash picked up one of Travis's favorite toys, a Tickle Me Elmo, and showed it to the chimpanzee. Travis was familiar with Nash, who had also worked at the Herald's family car towing business, although Nash had a different hairstyle at the time of the attack, which may have confused and alarmed the chimp. To their absolute horror, Travis began attacking Charla Nash, inflicting devastating injuries to her face and limbs. Sandra Harold, then 70 years old, attempted to stop Travis by hitting him with a shovel and stabbing him with a butcher knife. The chimp turned around, she said, as if to say, "Why would you do that, Mom?" But this didn't stop the attack. In fact, the animal grew even angrier. Harold then called 911 and pleaded for help. Travis's screams can be heard in the background of the tape as Sandra pleaded for police, who initially believed the call to be a hoax, until she started screaming something that sent chills through the dispatcher who heard them. "He's eating her. He's eating her. Oh my God, he's eating her." Terrified emergency medical services waited for armed police backup before approaching the house. Travis walked up to the police car when it arrived, tried to open a locked passenger door, and smashed a side view mirror. Then he went calmly around to the driver's side door and opened it, at which point a police officer shot him several times. Screaming in pain, Travis fled back into the house, where he was found lying dead next to his cage. The emergency medical teams described Nash's injuries as absolutely horrendous. In the 72 hours that followed the attack, Nash underwent almost 10 hours of surgery on her face and hands by 4 separate teams of surgeons, the hospital providing counseling to its staff members who initially treated her because of the extraordinarily brutal nature of Nash's wounds. Paramedics noted that she had lost her hands, nose, eyes, lips, and mid-face bone structure, as well as receiving significant brain tissue injuries. Doctors reattached her jaw, but announced on April of 2019 that Nash would be blind for life. Her injuries made her a possible candidate for an experimental face transplant surgery. After initial treatment at Stanford Hospital, Nash was transferred to the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio. Her family started a trust fund to raise money to pay her unfathomable medical bills and support her daughter. Nash revealed her damaged face in public for the first time on the Oprah Winfrey Show on November 11, 2009. She was not at the time in physical pain from the attack, and family members said she hoped to leave the Cleveland Clinic soon. Pictures have surfaced on the internet displaying Nash's face before and after the attack. 2 years later, Nash underwent transplant surgery performed by a team at the Harvard teaching affiliate, Brigham and Women's Hospital, receiving a donated face and hands. The hands transplant was initially successful, but because Nash developed pneumonia shortly thereafter, doctors were forced to remove her newly transplanted hands. Oh, this is terrifying, dude. Fucking familiar with like a big monkey ape, and it just, "I'm gonna fucking eat your face. You steal my Elmo doll, I swear to God. I'm gonna eat your face." God, that's so fucking sad. Jesus. The hands transplant was initially successful, but because Nash developed pneumonia shortly thereafter, doctors were forced to remove her newly transplanted hands due to the infection and resulting poor circulation. In accordance with standard operating procedure, Travis's head was taken to the state laboratory for a rabies test, and the blood was taken to the University of Connecticut for a necropsy. His brain tested negative for rabies, but there was evidence that Xanax remained in his system. Necropsy results in 2009 confirmed the chimp was overweight and had deep stab wounds to his back and sides. The remains were cremated at All Pets Crematory. I wonder if necropsy is Harambe.
Necropsy.
Necropsy, okay. And the body was taken to the University of Connecticut for a necropsy. Necropsy. 3 syllables, okay. And the body was taken to the University of Connecticut for a necropsy. God, I sounded like a robot there. Necropsy, for a necropsy. And the body was taken to the University of Connecticut for a necropsy. His brain tested negative for rabies, but there was evidence that Xanax remained in his system. Necropsy. Necropoopy. Necropsy results in 2009 confirmed the chimp was overweight and had deep stab wounds to his back and sides. The remains were cremated at All Pets Crematory in Stanford on February 25, 2009. The toxicology reports confirmed Sandra's statement that she had given Travis Xanax-laced tea the day of the attack, which could have exacerbated his aggression. Xanax is known to be a short-acting, potent anti-anxiety drug that can cause disinhibition and disorientation and occasionally paradoxical reactions of rage and mania. On May 25, 2010, almost a year and a half after the attack, Sandra... Did I say... Is her name Sandra or Sandra? I don't fucking remember. On May 25, 2010, almost a year and a half after the attack, Sandra Harold died of a ruptured aortic aneurysm at the age of 72. Miss Harold had suffered a series of heartbreaking losses over the last several years, beginning with the death of her daughter who was killed in a car accident, then her husband, then her beloved chimp Travis, as well as the tragic maiming of her friend and employee Charla Nash. In the end, her heart, which had been broken so many times before, could take no more. Oh my god, dude. It's like the saddest, most terrifying story of all time. I could totally see them making a movie out of this. I wouldn't watch it. I would boycott that movie. But God, it's just like the scene of like or just imagining like a chimp. It's so strong. Remember Joe Rogan talked about an army of chimps. We wouldn't stand a chance. Joe Rogan also referenced chimps being shaved. Can you imagine a shaved chimp? Can you imagine how muscular those things are? Planet of the Apes is coming, guys. And there's nothing we can do about it. That's just a taste. They're going to eat our faces. And we have to fight back now. We have to go to the zoos, we have to go to the chimp sanctuaries, and we have to demand that these chimps, don't get any sort of brain-enhancing drugs or be given weapons, potentially. We have to demand that doesn't happen. All right? As vice president, it's my promise to stop Planet of the Apes from actually happening. Chimps can't swim, that's true. We're going to have to start colonies in the middle of the ocean probably to get away from them. We'll have to swim out there, potentially just bring a bunch of trash with us that we can pile up. And just kind of float on the trash on these trash islands. We'll see the chimps looking at us from the shorelines, holding their, Tickle Me Elmo dolls, like a bunch of little kids. But we know what their intentions are. Sorry, chimps. We're out to sea, and we're not coming back. You know what, chimps? Make your own Xanax. We don't care. Joe Rogan will lead the chimp rebellion. I know, Joe Rogan might be working for the chimps, to be honest. I'm a little concerned about Joe Rogan's affiliation. He will be a chimp god, probably. Worshipped among the chimps. Alright, so I just got a link from B-Busta. And I'm going to go ahead and share his post on the community page. Maybe not directly right now, but after this stream. So if you guys, I'm sure most of you guys are subscribed to him already, probably, if you guys are into these scary stories. But it's just we're doing a little bit of a cross-promotional thing to see how it goes and catch a vibe, you know what I mean? Do a vibe check, Alright, guys. You make Bigfoot dolls? Dude, did you ever hear about how Bigfoot, if he lives near you and he knows that, or not he, but it knows you have a family, they'll like take sticks and twigs and like make little replica dolls of the people in your family. It's almost like some Blair Witch shit, but apparently Bigfoot's like one of Bigfoot's like telltale signs is they'll leave. It's almost like a peace offering or whatever, but they'll like near a tree near your house or maybe in front of your house, they'll just like make these little like dolls that look like people. But dude, Bigfoot's a pervert, to be honest. To be completely honest. Yeah, dress my Bigfoot in the footsie PJs. Maybe Bigfoot's doing some freaking voodoo shit, dude. We can't trust him. We can't trust the chimps. Can't trust Bigfoot. Honestly, guys, humans are the only ape that can be allowed to survive. We're at a war. We don't even know it. I don't look anything like your stupid doll, Bigfoot. Think this means peace? You actually just committed a war crime in my book. Good luck. Good luck. Billy, that's a good question. Bigfoot is. I'm no Bigfoot, that's for certain. Horncastle? And then how do you say this weird ass name? Vanavalum? Benavalum? Bonovalum? Bonovalum? You should do a pronunciation. How to pronounce Benavalum? Do you guys know? Oh.
Banuvalum.
Bonovalum. Benavalum. Alright, guys. We'll get there when we get there, but this is the last story of the night. Let's kick it. Walk proud, little foot. Sometimes people ask me why I decided to become an animal doctor. Honestly, the truth is that I have known that I was going to be dealing with fierce... Sometimes people ask me why I decided to become an animal doctor, and honestly, the truth is that had I known that I was going to be dealing with fearsome, biting terror... God damn it, dude. Sometimes people ask me why I decided to become an animal doctor, and honestly, the truth is that if I had known that I was going to be dealing with fearsome, biting terriers, panic-stricken piglets, or even cows stuck up trees, chances are I may have considered another profession entirely. But from the age of 9 years old, all I wanted to do was help animals. My mom and dad think this stems from me accidentally throwing my teddy bear into the fire as a kid, and never being able to forgive myself for not being able to repair the resulting scorch damage. In 2003, after 5 years of hard studying at Manchester Uni, I finally qualified as a veterinary surgeon. Veterinary. In 2003, after 5 years of hard studying at Manchester University, I finally qualified as a veterinary surgeon. I subsequently worked in Yorkshire for 8 years before moving to Lincolnshire, where I was a partner in, and later the full owner of the practice in Horncastle, the Benavalum Veterinary Group. Fuck, dude, how do you say this stupid word? I hate not being able to pronounce stuff and you look it up and there's no answers. They're just like, I don't know. You just kind of have to know somebody that knows how to pronounce it. Good luck with learning your dumb words. Okay, Benavalum. Oh my god. Benavalum. Here we go. Maybe there's a YouTube video. Perhaps there's some sort of YouTube video that would... Okay, here we go. Twitter. That's not it. It's the complete opposite of what I was looking for. Thanks. Come on, baby. Can you milk a tree cow? That's a good question.
There's a real thirst amongst the teaching staff.
Oh, come on.
To sign up to the option of looking at cognition and also memory.
Tell me the freaking
key.
name of your school.
We knew very quickly that resources for our students to be able to revise in the long term, to hold information in their memory,
benevolum.
and also to be able to
It's very
draw it out
helpful,
when
thank you.
needed, were really important. So my subject specialism is design and technology. It's a subject in which students do sit a terminal exam at the end of year 11, and we wanted to really focus on how we were equipping them to perform very well in that.
Benevolum. Alright, whatever. We'll figure it out. Horncastle, Lincolnshire. Blah, blah, blah. Veterinary. The Benevolum Veterinary Group, where from 2013 to the present day we deal with the medical issues of both livestock and pets. Obviously, with it being my dream job, I find the work incredibly fulfilling, but it does have its downsides, mainly having to work weekends and nights. I miss out on a lot of significant family moments because of it, and I can't tell you how much regret that fills me with. Veterinary emergencies usually fall into one of three categories. We call these the A, B, or C of genuine emergencies. A for accidents, B for births, and C for collapses. However, there's a sort of scary fourth option that no one likes to talk about. We call this one D for danger. Throughout my career, I have dealt with many hazardous or outright dangerous animals, but there was only one occasion where I felt in serious danger of actually being hurt or killed. This was when I had the seemingly straightforward job of vaccinating an English Bull Terrier. Despite rumors to the contrary, English Bull Terriers are usually a good breed to deal with, but when they are in a bad mood, they can be very difficult to treat safely. But in this particular case, the dog's owners parked outside the clinic and refused to bring the dog inside. At first they explained that this was because there were other dogs in the waiting room, but it wasn't long enough. Fuck. Imagine me reading for 24 hours. I would go actually insane. You know, people do like 24-hour streams. I would never be able to do that. But in this particular case, the dog's owner parked outside the clinic and refused to bring the dog inside. At first they explained this was because there were other dogs in the waiting room, but it wasn't long until I suspected some other behavioral issues. Instead of bringing him inside, they tied his two leads to some outside railings, pulling them tight so that the dog was unable to move. So when I went out, he was already snarling and growling, evidently in an immense amount of distress. Most owners get terribly distressed when we have to restrain their animals, and some even flat out refuse any kind of needles, even though the treatment is to benefit of their pet. But these owners seem to have no problem doing it themselves. I found that deeply worrying. However, I quickly decided this was no time to be a hero. Other patients were waiting to be seen. I would simply have to get the job done for the time being and maybe call the RSPCA for a welfare check later on. Nervously, I walked up to the restrained terrier and inserted the needle as gently as I could. Yelping and howling in pain, he only redoubled his effort to get free. I felt a spasm of fear as his violent struggling caused both collars to slip forward over his head. The livid hound was almost free. The female half of the owning couple immediately began screaming, "Oh my God, quick! Get back in the surgery! Get back in the bloody surgery!" I'm not one to dismiss, Wait, surgery? What's a surgery? I'm not one to dismiss a piece of sound advice like that, but I had one big problem. This furious barking ball of snarling aggression was blocking my way. One option was to jump onto the roof of a nearby van, but I thought better of it when I realized the dog could probably jump much higher than I ever could. It was crucial that I didn't display too much fear in front of the other clients watching these antics through the window of the practice, but still, I was absolutely terrified. My only realistic option was to take a running leap over the top of him and dart in through the door, slamming it shut behind me and smiling politely at the grinning customers waiting inside, which to my absolute shock, I actually managed to do. I never saw that bold terrier ever again. As a veterinarian, it can not only be your life and limbs that are at risk, sometimes it's your hearing that takes a battering. As veterinarian students, we have to gain experience with a range of animals, and I happened to get a work experience place on a pig farm. One incident had a sow and her 2-week-old piglets being moved across the farm to a larger pen where they would have a freer move. Fuck. Okay. One incident had a sow and her 2-week-old piglets being moved across the farm to a larger pen where they would have freer movement. A couple of us moved the sow from the crate to her new pen and left her there, held inside by a metal barrier about a meter or two high. We then returned to the crate to collect the piglets, but in this case, their new pen happened to be a little too spacious. Our big mistake was to move the sow first, because what do little piglets do when they are distressed and can't find their mother? They squeal loudly. Ear-piercingly loudly, in fact, at the top of their voices. I was the first to arrive at the pen carrying the piglets when, at that moment, the sow ran towards her squealing offspring and jumped to rest her front top feet. Fuck, what? God damn it, why am I struggling so hard to maintain a streak? I was the first to arrive at the pen carrying the piglets when at that moment the sow ran towards her squealing offspring and jumped up to rest her front feet on top of the barrier, grunting and groaning with her open mouth just inches from my face. Have you ever seen a pig's teeth? They can be horribly sharp if they're not clipped correctly. But I might be a little bit crazy, but I'm definitely not stupid. I did the only thing possible and tossed the screaming little things into the pen. They duly ran to safety, as did I. Then the bloke behind me, also carrying 2 squealing piglets, approached for his turn. But the sow now decided on a different approach, and like a racehorse, she cleared the barrier in a single loop. My piglet-carrying colleague leapt out of her way and had no choice to drop the piglets and free. The sow have huge too. What? The sow have huge too. The sow have huge too. There's no thinking how much. Oh, okay. Maybe they meant was. The sow have huge teeth. Wait, fuck. Okay. The sow was huge too. There's no thinking how much damage she'd done if she'd actually got a hold of one of us. Over the course of my career, I have endured all manners of injuries. Stapling my finger to a lamb's genitals is a particularly standout moment for me. But the most serious injury I sustained was actually away from work, taking part in the sport I love, distance running. Last year I was involved in a near-fatal accident during a race, and the injuries I sustained sadly brought an end to my clinical career. I'm still not used to the idea of not being a real vet anymore. I miss getting my hands dirty and the contact with clients and their animals. On some level, I even miss being attacked, chased, falling over, and being surprised every day. Alright, guys, what should I say at the end? Pig hearts can be used as human hearts in transplants. Yeah, that's pretty. If these pigs hate ate humans and you butchered the pigs and ate them, would that be cannibalism? That's possible. Yeah, I mean, they for our insulin or whatever that we use on, to administer insulin, it's based on pig insulin. What if our bodies mistake when we eat pigs for eating humans, and our bodies shame us? Shame on you for eating your brethren. Shame on you. Oh, shitskis. Okay. Guys, think of something funny to say at the end. Something hilarious. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. If you got a story, be sure to submit them to my subreddit, r Let's Read Official, and give and receive feedback from the community, and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video. And join my Discord to interact with me and other listeners directly. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations for just $1 a month on Patreon, and maybe even pick up some Let's Read merch on Spreadshirt. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all these stories in long compilation form and save huge on data, located on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Links in the bio. Thanks so much, friends. Fuck, what do I say? What do I say, my friends? What do I say? You vote what Sarah said. What did Sarah say? I vote Tree Cows 2. Where's Tree Cows? What if our bodies miss... Tree cows. And remember, tree cows. You can't milk a tree cow. There you go. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, you can't milk a tree cow. Eat toes. Eat toes. And remember, eat toes. The dirtier the better. The dirtier the toes, the more seasoning. To me, when you're sucking toes, eating toes, dirt's just seasoning. Well, guys, thanks for being here. This is a 3-hour stream. That's pretty solid. Got it done a little bit earlier, which I'm happy about. Gives me time to exist as a human being in other things, such as eating food. Very important. And, yeah. I'm excited that this is coming out tomorrow at 7 p.m. How do you feel about it? Billy Amber with the 2 says, you can't milk a tree cow, but I can milk you. This is true. And Eva Loney with the 2 says, night night. Good night, Eva. Guys, thanks for being here. And if you want to just continue existing in the world of Let's Read, join our Discord. A lot of good people in there, a lot of nice people, a lot of places that just discuss different things, serious things, funny things, really anything you could possibly hope for. A lot of really good times in voice chat. Internet friends are the great. Come down on a football with me. I'm hungry for a football. But Pat's ass. You just pat my butt. Good work, kid. Pat. My voice is so ASMR. Is that kind of like being like kawaii? Kind of like being I'm so kawaii, but I'm ASMR kawaii. Yeah, if you get out of class, video will be out at 7 p.m. Follow me on Twitter so you know whenever new stuff or, any other stupid shit I have to say. Instagram, all of that stuff I keep up to date in case YouTube's notification system doesn't really let you know what's going on. Otherwise, click that notification bell so you are alerted of all future stuff. Go to the podcast also. It's on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, all that kind of jazz, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And, yeah, follow that on there. I'll probably release one of those tomorrow around noon Eastern Standard Time. I'm usually doing that like bi-weekly, every 2 weeks. But, yeah, give me your babies. I don't have any kids. How can I give them to you? Unless you're talking about my cat. Which he's not in the room anymore. But yeah, stay 100, spooky fam. I like it, I like it. Watch your profanity. I love you guys. You're so much fun to hang out with, and it makes being a YouTube boy, an e-boy, that much better. So, love you guys. Have a good night.